gets me of like fuck you. But yeah, just welcome all coming in. We are starting up now. We're going live. Chat
We're
is
coming in
here.
apparently the most low energy I've heard Luke's in a while.
Well,
You're right
I'm
there,
just
mate.
making sure that like when I'm the one like hosting and I'm making sure everything's like gone live correctly, I just like have that minute where I need to just keep just chewing my words for a second where I'm like, is everything going? Is everything running? Are we all
You're
live?
also apparently just being infrequently flashbanged by your monitor. I've also realised well, when I face this way to look at you as I would for the screen, I look the wrong way on the recording. So I should look this way so it looks like I'm talking to you. Is there any way to flip me around?
You why would you bring this up as we've gone live and not
Well,
before?
I'll try and mess around with it as you do the intro. Because I think on my video I can change my video.
It's like you didn't think with the half an hour that we were doing setup that you could mention that first.
No.
Well, let's mention it while we're live. Make
Yeah.
Lucas just stress a little bit more.
I'm not stressed. I'm not trying to stress you out. I'm just saying. I just noticed it as the stream went live. Oh yeah, I do face the wrong way. It's like for me, it's the right way. But like for like visual symmetry, me looking off to the side when I'm listening to you makes it look like I'm just really, really just ignorant of like. As soon as you start talking, I go,
We know you do, Carl.
I do. Yeah, I just sound out.
Oh God, no. There we go. We all should be nice and ready, and we are, of course, just live at the moment, and making sure I get chat back up. I've lost it. I've lost my place, Carl. We're all okay.
I am so sorry.
I'm not sorry because we're bringing you live free content.
That is true. It is free and it is live.
That's the thing, right? It's like it's always very funny when I hear other podcasts and stuff, and like especially like ones that are doing like a video version, and they're talking to like at least one person behind the scenes who's like doing all the producing in the background, and like, oh, can you like get some B-roll up for us, or like just make sure like, oh, our producer's just tweaking the audio or the video in the background or something. And like we're just two people are like flying off the heart of our seats, just going. We're just flying, Carl.
Like I said, I always say it, panicking Skywalker.
We are panicking Skywalker over here, but just yeah, like we're doing our best, and you've got to just forgive the fact that I listen to a lot of podcasts, and Carl knows this.
Yes.
And I take pride in the fact that there are some like hiccups and some weird intro bits here and there, but for the most part, our podcasts sound and look as good as other people who have live producers.
Yeah, also as well, I think the look of ours, while amateurish, like it does look like we're doing an interview on Zoom. I cannot stand the podcast format of two knobheads on a sofa.
Oh, yeah.
Because they always wear shorts, and I always got to see their ugly, pale legs.
You leave my ugly, pale legs out of this, Carl.
Yeah, it's that thing of like, it's not even like it's not framed properly. Of like, I don't want to see your entire body when you're talking.
Like that's a weird thing, right? Is I never get that like vibe of just why do I need to see their whole body when it should just be focused on the face. I get it when you have like a wide shot where there's two people across either side of a table, and then they have like the shots, between the two.
They have a
wide and a close up on each.
Yeah.
And they pan between them again because they have live producers, or they edit it all in post with like multiple camera feeds and shit. Because some podcasts have like actual production budget, we do not. But yeah, I never really get the idea of needing to see someone's entire body. Like
next minute, they're always sat on a sofa and they're always sat like this.
Yeah,
they're always sat the most horizontal motherfucker. It's like sit up straight.
I mean, technically, it's better for your posture if you're like a 30-degree back angle or something, according to QI.
No, it's not.
Well,
again, I've never seen anyone at that angle who I think has good posture.
I didn't say good posture, but it's better for your back, apparently.
Okay.
Just in terms of what I have learned from QI over the years is they, just did that thing, that classic little, hey, you've all got like a little chair and little model, like sit them up as you would think is best for your back on a chair, And then I think I can't remember whether it was Sandy or Stephen Fry presenting at the time, but the presenter was like, "Oh no, the actual way to sit on a chair properly is like this," and just like snap their back all the way like 30, 40 degrees backwards.
There's all those things like this is the best way to do it. It's like, so why the fuck does no one do that then?
Well, I
There's another
mean,
thing about, the optimal way to sit on a toilet. And it's like, yeah, that's if you sat on a toilet for 40 minutes, at which point you've probably got other problems.
maybe you need to like get some fiber in your system.
Yeah.
Oh, but oh dear, we need to start this podcast at some point, and of course, this is the Wiki Weekdays podcast, where I'm your host for the week, Lucas Holland, and we are also joined by the lovely Karl Smallwood.
Hello.
And if people are unaware, Karl and I both have a wiki page that we have chosen for this podcast to just hopefully have a fun discussion with, and it is your job to just decide with me just mouthing over my words. It is your job to decide which wiki won each week, which you can officially vote for by joining our community Discord, link to which you can find in the description below. And Karl, do you know which wiki won?
Last week, right?
Because
I don't want it to be Mr. Blobby.
Last week,
I don't want it to be Mr. Blobby.
Oh, there's no stopping Mr. Blobby.
Oh my god, so Mr. Blobby, and who did Mr. Blobby beat?
Mr. Blobby, who did Mr. Blobby beat? I literally did the post
your
earlier.
Topic?
It was my topic. What was the topic? That's the. You know that it was probably the right winner because I can't remember what I did.
You can't remember your own topic.
Oh yeah, we did talk about Secret Wars Battle World.
Yeah,
which actually was a good discussion. It's just, it's hard to remember anything when Mr. Blobby's there in the back of your brain.
It's like, nobody defeats Doom except for Mr. Blobby.
Blobby.
From Unstoppable.
What crossover that would be, right? It's like he's just ripped like the skeleton out of Thanos. And he's like, nobody is strong enough to defeat Doom. And then you
like,
just hear Blobby.
It's like, no person who is purple can beat me. It's like, how about pink with yellow spots?
Wait, what? Just like Doom's armor gets ripped out of him. Oh, no.
Yeah, and that does highlight what, like, you know, the gimmick of which wiki won this week, which is it's not necessarily the topic that you enjoy the most; it's the one that inspired the best discussion.
Well, multiple people voted. I had to vote Mr. Blobby, for I fear that he will come for me. That's the power of Mr. Blobby. It's just he's in your head.
It's terrifying.
And that's the thing, is that's how people voting felt. Imagine actually being like a celebrity on any of those like morning shows in the 90s or the early noughts where there was an actual threat of Blobby.
No, yeah, at any point he could just came in.
Like, imagine how it feels to be that.
Well, it's like, have you ever seen? It's like, it's legendary now, but it's at the Kids' Choice Awards where they had to stop doing this, where randomly they would gunge one of the presenters.
Oh yeah, because there's that famous Katy Perry one, isn't there, of opening the bar?
She gets fucking annihilated.
You destroy.
Because the thing is, the Kids' Choice Awards, we're going to gunge someone, but they had to like hide how they do it, and they didn't tell the celebrity who it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if Katy Perry rock up, all dolled up, probably like wearing like the most expensive dress you've ever seen,
and
they gunge her from the microphone, but the pressure in it is like, it's like she gets hit with a pressure washer. If she gets fucking annihilated and they have to stop doing it.
Yeah.
It's like no celebrity was willing to like present an award. It's like, I'm not doing it.
It looked like it fucking took her face off.
She gets knocked on her ass. It looked like she almost goes horizontal.
She nearly had good posture.
She almost did. She was at the optimal position to get gunged.
Oh, because like you look at it, oh, that's a fun idea for like a cute kids award thing, and then you look at the gif of it, and just Katy Perry nearly gets like knocked into a different universe where she cares about women.
Just let's move on. Do you know what? If we ever do Katy Perry's wiki page, you'll know what we mean by that.
I actually was tempted. I was very tempted because I saw that like a new single was releasing. I was like, no.
Did you see like she offered it to like the Kamala Harris campaign and they had to say like, no, thank you.
This is a brat summer, thank you.
She asked for it she said, oh, you can use my song for free. It's about girl power. And Kamala Harris's HQ was like, no, thank you.
It's not about girl power. And then she went, oh, it was a satire actually. It's like, shut the fuck up. Just hire a new publicist, please.
Yeah.
Oh,
at least get a new producer.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't have a producer who has like a section on their Wikipedia page simply titled "Sexual Assault Allegations."
Uh,
Maybe don't work with that guy.
I know that they got you a lot of money in the past, but it's a bad look when you saying like, "Look, I really care about women's rights. I'm gonna go with the guy that apparently, like, has all that shit going on."
You stop Kesha making music.
Yeah.
We could have had more Kesha songs, damn it.
Oh, but moving on to a more positive light, Carl,
Yes.
we can course, we can of course talk about Pet of the Week.
Yes. Who's the pet of the week this week?
We need like a little jingle, don't we?
We can write one. I've got a friend who's a musician. I've got plenty of friends who are musicians.
We
Actually,
can get
we
a
could
Pet
write
of the
a
Week jingle going, right?
That's my friend. I'm seeing him tomorrow actually, going for a pint.
Like,
I'll
get
say,
a
"Do you
little
wanna,
button on the stream deck to just press the Pet of the Week jingle.
could you make me like a 10-second jingle where you just sing Pet of the Week? I'll see if he'll do it. Actually, he'll find that fun.
Yeah.
I'll
We're
see what I can
looking
do about
into it,
getting that, mate.
folks. Oh, but yeah, the winner of Pet of the Week is Amar this week.
Yeah.
And Amar, as you can see around this area of my screen.
That way.
Yeah, that should be right. They had apparently just been for their first professional groom, so they were looking especially handsome.
Thing is, I can tell it's a short-haired dog, so like, when they groom that, like that dog was enjoying that brush. So when like short-haired dogs, you must know it's with Caden Oryx. Well, when you get like the really firm brush and they fucking love it.
I
Have you
mean,
ever seen that picture of the cat that had 3 legs? And they get it like the grooming post, and the cat's just like its eyes go to the back of its head. It's like that's the face of someone who's had an itch they can't scratch for like 5 years.
and of course, another thing going on over on our Patreon is that we had some monthly polls going for what videos we were going to discuss for this month's Patreon vote. And Carl was going to talk about a game show, and it was your job as patrons at the $5 tier or above to go and vote for that. And people picked Takeshi's Castle.
So I get to watch some Takeshi's Castle. So it was Takeshi's Castle, Ninja Warrior, Total Wipeout, which that's what happens to Katy Perry, or The Chase. So I guess go watch some Takeshi's Castle. And apparently, I've got to go watch the new version, right? With
At
the
least
absolute worst commentaries.
Just, I want to get your impression of at least one episode, the new version, yeah.
Because it's Ramesh and the Rob Beckett, right?
No, I don't think it was Rob Beckett. I can't remember who it was.
Whoever it is, you say like they're phoning it the fuck in.
It was more that Ramesh was like really negative. I was like, that's not the show for this. Like, Takeshi's Castle's meant to be just a fun time, and then I was like, oh, so I'll go back to the 90s version. I was like, oh, this is not a fun time in a different way. So I guess I'll watch like an episode of the old one and the new one just to freshen up my memory of both as well.
It's like, oh, Craig Charles. Like, I know you didn't write the script, but whoever did write the script was playing fast and loose with the racial stereotypes.
That's the thing, right? Is you can tell that he was just being a presenter and putting all of his enthusiasm into it and being very enthusiastic, but the words that he's saying, I wish he wasn't quite as enthusiastic to say.
Yeah, it makes it one of those things where it just hits the ear wrong.
Nowadays it does, yeah. So that'll be a real interesting discussion to have. And
it will indeed, yeah. Especially I get to go watch the original Japanese version, which has stuff in it we've never seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All the crazy bullshit. And so, yeah, we'll look forward to that. And then what topic will you be covering, Monfrere?
Well, I will be watching a classic movie for the first time ever and talking about it afterwards. And I will be watching and doing a video on Rambo. Because, yeah, I know.
Watched that just the other week.
I know that I haven't watched classic movies, which is why I'm doing this in the first place and making this a little sub-series of like every now and then, just like, every month or two, I'll just watch a new classic movie. I don't want it to become like my entire shtick because then it'll become very samey feeling. But just every now and then, just maybe like every other month, I'll do a classic film vote or something if people are enjoying the little extra series. But yeah, at the moment, we're just focusing on Rambo.
Yes, the most competent and best made movie in the Rambo franchise. I said I just watched it the other week. A friend of mine also hadn't seen it. It's like, should we just watch a movie? And it's like, is there anywhere you've not seen on my shelf? I've never seen Rambo.
Mm.
So they were joking about like Sylvester Stallone's not a good actor, and well, he's really good in Rambo.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
He's very good in Rambo. Almost killed it though, because the initial cut was 3 hours long, and the ending was the same ending as in the book, which
Oh,
we'll no doubt cover on the wiki.
yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll learn all
Don't want
about
to spoil it.
that. So yeah, look forward to that discussion rather than us talking about that now in the middle of the intro. But we do have another thing that's a bit shittier to mention about Patreon, which is that Apple are dickheads.
Yeah. So I saw this was a thing. I was like, okay, I'm not sure that affects us. Did you wipe your elbow?
I did on the desk. Yeah.
Okay, I'll cover you. I'll cover you. So there's a new thing on Patreon where being a content creator, it's rough going because just out of nowhere, every now and again, without warning, there'll just suddenly be an update to a service or a platform or a piece of hardware or software that you use that just completely and utterly fucks you over. We had like Audacity randomly like, hey, we're just going to use AI and train it on all your voices, and they walk that back. Then there was Adobe where it's like, now you need to pay a monthly subscription fee for the editing suite. You no longer own Adobe. It's like, for fuck's sake. And then the YouTube algorithm got fucked over, and then PewDiePie was screaming racial slurs and nearly killed advertising for every person on the platform. Then you had Twitter got bought out by a fucking racist, and it meant like just created everyone's ability to promote their own stuff. And now Patreon has decided, hey, we're gonna just add a 30% fuck you tax to anyone using an Apple device.
No, I think it's because of Apple being shitty, right?
Okay, so Apple's adding a 30% fuck you tax.
I think that's the reason is that Apple are like getting pissy with all the third party app store shenanigans going on at the moment, so they're just like, fuck you. If you're using the Patreon app on an iOS device, 30% extra.
Yeah. To be fair though, it's a small company.
Yeah, they need that little extra
$1 trillion
30%. Yeah, so
well, that's mean they're such a small company they don't even pay taxes.
It's true. But yes, it's one of those of just for anyone using the iOS app, specifically, I believe, like, just don't. You can still go like on the browser on your phone and not get the extra fees, I believe.
Yes, you'll save 30% if you want to support us. Because there's two options we had, right, Lucas? And we checked it just now, and it's either we raise the price by 30% or we absorb the cost and we pay the 30% to Apple.
Yeah.
We pay the 30% fuck you tax. And I don't want to pay a 30% fuck you tax.
And
no one wants to pay a 30% fuck you tax.
That's the thing, right? If we decide to eat that cost for like, it says like, oh, if you got paid $10, so if someone thought they were supporting you for $10, we'd be getting $6 at that point. Yeah. So we'd be getting nearly half the amount that people want to support us for.
It also makes it difficult to express to an audience of like, hey, do this once, but the price is the same. But if the price is different, and you can literally see, hey, it's 30% less to do the same thing on this platform, that will hopefully encourage people who do want to support us, which is always appreciated, to do so via those other means.
Yeah, so we figured rather than like, both people like, supporting us for less than they thought they were, just the way to get around that would be like, hey, if we know the price is going higher on this one place, don't use that place. It's a good way to just communicate and for people to visibly see, oh, hey, that $10 is suddenly like $13 on the iOS app. What the fuck? It's like, just go to a browser.
Yeah, just like literally just on your phone, just open up Safari on your phone.
As far as we're aware, it communicated to us it was just specifically through the iOS app. It didn't say like through a browser on your iOS device. So just a heads up to everyone, just don't use a Patreon iOS app to put through your payment because it'll just cost more.
Who the fuck's using that, right?
Presumably enough people where they give a shit to make a fucking song and dance.
I guess if you are supporting a lot of creators and you want to like, if you're using it more as like, a social app. So I guess if like you're not on social media, if you don't want to use like Twitter or something, it's a good way to follow news from creators that you enjoy.
So yeah, apologies to have to bring that up and just waffle on about that for a couple of minutes. Just like, we just want to let people be very aware that like, don't use the iOS app to pay people on Patreon. Just like find another way to So at least do like the payout method through, and to subscribe to people through, because just whoever's fault it is, there's an extra like 30% pay rise shit coming through that way.
I almost respect it. That's the thing. Like, the idea of just the fuck you 30% tax. Pretty baller when you think about it.
Yeah, Apple does suck indeed. But yes, I don't want to waffle on too long about it, but I also want to just make sure that people got it across to themselves of like, hey, this fucking sucks, and be aware of it.
But there is a very easy workaround.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. If you want to post pictures of your pets in our Discord, that's what you need to do. Like you need to save that 30% because you'll use that money to go buy your pet a hat, and you can make it wear that hat. Or you could throw like the money next to your dog and be like, "Yeah, look."
Just every time you feed them that little extra treat, just be like, "Hey, I paid for that little treat for you just by not going through the iOS app."
It's like my banking apps have that. Presumably, everyone's app has the equivalent as like Save the Change, which I think is trademarked. So whatever the equivalent is for other banking apps, where it's just, hey, if you pay for something, it's like, oh, I paid like £3.60 for it. It puts 40p into your savings account.
Oh, right. Okay.
That way you only have even amounts of money going out your bank account at any given time. Which I do appreciate, but it doesn't always work. So it annoys me when I look at my bank account and it's like you got £30 and 12 pence left. So well, I thought the whole point of having this system is that I always have an even number.
Like, fuck you,
Carl. Where'd that 12p come from? Because it'll pay my interest in.
Just, you know what?
Like 8p.
Every time that you come across that problem, just send me the extra 12p.
No.
It's fine. Like, you don't need to worry about that 12p, Carl. Just send it my way. Just PayPal me 12 pence.
Hey, I know FactFiend's been brought back, but it's going to take a while to get back up to its pre-pandemic numbers.
I'm just saying, Carl, if you're getting that frustrated by the extra 12p in your account, I know the perfect solution.
It's my 12 pence. You can bollocks. Pennies make the pounds, mate. Pennies make the
They
pounds.
do, yeah.
We've got a mortgage to pay. Bollocks.
Oh, but yes, of course, we are streaming this episode live. During the live chat, just chat along with us to maybe get your comments highlighted. And if you do want to make sure that your comments are highlighted, then you can do it super chat, and Carl or I will make sure that we read it out by the end of the episode. And normally we usually just read it in real time, but we just say that just in case like we miss it and need to loop back around. But just make sure you give us a like while you're watching live, and if you're watching later on YouTube, remember to give us the old like, subscribe, and remember to just share it, because sharing this podcast is free.
Sharing is caring, yes.
Helps promote us, and just like, just every time you watch this, remember, just share it to one person. Be like, hey, this would be fun. Go watch this. We can talk about it together. But yeah, you can also find us on podcast services by searching for Wiki Weekdays podcast, and we will talk about any other plugs later, Carl, but bring us a wiki. We need to round this out.
That's the thing, because I know that you do have it all written down in front of you, which is great, because it means we get everything we need to mentioned. But I can't help myself with like constantly. People notice that I'm doing it. Of like, I'll keep interrupting Lucas because I'm trying to throw him off his stride.
Yeah.
As annoying as it is, Lucas, it is very funny.
I know it's funny for you, but then when we've also got like, oh, now we need to mention the Apple spiel. I'm like, I already know my intros go on too long, and then like Apple throw that shit in the mix. I'm like, fuck's sake, let me just get Carl onto his wiki.
So I would like to apologise for that, but it does make for tremendous content. And speaking of tremendous content, we have my wiki for today, which is Dead Rising. So Lucas, there is a Dead Rising remake coming out soon, which is why I was inspired to pick this wiki.
There's not,
Carl. It's out in like a month.
Because there's a Dead Rising Deluxe remaster, and I appreciate they just made it awkward sounding so that the abbreviation would be Doctor Doctor.
Oh, okay.
I really like that. It's just DRDR. I was like, yeah, I like that.
We're just going to call it Dead Rising anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's like RE4 remake. It's just RE4.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll clarify after the fact. It's RE4.
And
but I thought we were talking about Dead Rising. Specifically, though, the series as a whole, not any particular game in it or any character from within it.
Oh, okay. Well, just before we begin, Dan Daniel sends in a super chat just saying, here's my 30% now. Go get a pint in you. And we can't obviously get a pint in us right this second.
It's a Wednesday.
That is much appreciated, and that will come in handy over the weekend. So thank you very much, Dan.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, in the disco, I'm going for a pint tomorrow. I'll buy one and I'll say, there we go. Cheers. But right now, I'm drinking this weird orange concoction, which is my multivitamin amino acid drink. So I went to the gym earlier.
Yeah, it's like I'm just drinking like sparkling water at the moment. It's like it's a Wednesday and we're working, but yes, that will.
Just drinking, yeah, this Harry Potter shit over here. Because, yeah, I'm 30 odd years old. And the older you get, just the more random liquids you have to consume to stay alive. It's like Joe Frank West, I thought, it's so unrealistic that he just, when he's unhealthy, he has to go down like 8 different liquids to stay healed. It's like, I wake up in the morning, I'll have my coffee, then I have my protein shake, then I have my multivitamins, then I have my amino acid drink, then I have my BCAA.
The thing
By
is,
the end of
though,
it,
with
I'm
like
so full of liquid.
Frank Castle, though, is just the amount of
Frank
times.
Castle's the Punisher. It's Frank West.
You know what? By the end of that game, he is Frank Castle.
He's probably killed about as many people as the Punisher
He's
has.
killed probably
If you
more.
consider zombies to be people.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Frank West, when he's drinking a concoction, it's usually like, well, here's like a boot, a bottle of vodka, and a piece of pineapple. Blend it
I
up.
still think the
Super
best cocktail
speed.
you can make is just 2 bottles of wine. And he just downs that shit like a champion and then runs around the thing. And the best bit is as well, if you never save the game, because in that game you save by sleeping or using the bathroom, Frank West can go 72 hours subsisting of nothing but wine and he never takes a piss. What a hero. But, for anyone out there who's unfamiliar with the Dead Rising series, we can go through the wiki right now. So, Dead Rising is a series of action-adventure games created by KJ Inafune. It was originally developed by Capcom in 2006 until Capcom Vancouver took over development of the franchise and Microsoft Studios took over the publishing rights. As of September 30th, 2023, the game series has sold about 16 million copies worldwide and is currently Capcom's 6th most successful intellectual property. So that's pretty good because like Capcom own a lot. They own like Devil May Cry and Street Fighter.
Yeah, Mega
Right?
Man.
Mega Man, Monster Hunter.
Speaking of, KJ Inafune, creator of Mega Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
It's the 6th most successful franchise they've had.
that's impressive. And we'd talk about no, we weren't. We were talking about in a different recording, Marvel vs. Capcom. That was today, but that wasn't on this podcast.
That was on Fact Fiend.
But yeah, like just the fact that as well, like a lot of these franchises haven't been around as long, or have been around way longer because Dead Rising only came out on 360.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing as well. Like, Dead Rising was a system seller. And I got an Xbox 360 to play Dead Rising.
I didn't, but the two games that I picked up when I did the classic where everyone got a fucking 360 on like holiday of 2007 for Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4, the 2 games I picked up were Gears of War and Dead Rising.
Yeah, system seller. Because other games, like, okay, this game's shinier, it has better graphics and all that good stuff. But when it was Dead Rising, it's like you have 1,000 zombies on screen.
That was the selling point, right?
It was the selling point of the entire thing, yeah. Of like, you literally could not do this on an older piece of hardware.
Yeah.
Because I think there's some PS2 games look pretty good. Like Final Fantasy X looks pretty good.
It looks...
Like Silent Hill 3 looks real good. Like Silent Hill 3 on the PS2 looks better than some launch Xbox 360 games.
That's the thing, right? Is like RE4 on the GameCube probably looks not far off Dead Rising.
Yeah. But there's
Very
no way you
different
can get
art
that many
styles.
characters on screen.
But you couldn't. Yeah, you could fight 3 zombies at a time or Gyarados at a time in RE4. Maybe like 5 or 6 if you were lucky. But you couldn't fit 1,000 Gyarados on screen in RE4, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yes. We have here setting. The games in the franchise take place in fictional cities throughout the continental United States, though some real cities are mentioned. The first game takes place in a large shopping mall in the town of, and do you remember the name of the town, Lucas?
No, I don't.
It's Willamette, Colorado. The prequel takes place in Still Creek, a small town near Las Vegas, while the main game takes place in Fortune City, a mall. So it's not, people think like number 2 takes place in Vegas. It's like, no, it takes place in a mall modeled after Las Vegas.
Wait, no. It's not a mall, right? Technically.
It's a casino mall.
Yeah, right, because it's like there's a lot of different big like areas and stuff to it, like a little theme park area and stuff. Like,
yeah, And one of the things I like about it is people probably thinking, well, I'd rather have it set in a real city. But if it's set in a real city, then you've got to base the geography on the real world. You could probably fudge it a little bit, but by making it a fictional city inspired by a real place in the continental states, you're right.
Yeah, just the sparkling water came back up a bit.
Oh, I thought you were just laughing at what's that. That wasn't that funny. That was just rote recitation of information, and you found it very funny. But yeah, but by making it a place they make up, the geography can be decided by them.
Yes, exactly right. Like, it can just be fictional town with fictional mall, and that way you don't have to have someone be, well, what's it accurate to the real location? It's like, fuck it. It's better for game design.
Yep, and it's the third game takes in Los Perdios in California, whereas Dead Rising 4 takes place once again in Willamette, with a zombie outbreak happening in the Willamette Memorial Megaplex, which was constructed to honor the victims of the first game's outbreak, which is so America, right?
Yeah.
We open up a megaplex at the site of the first outbreak.
And that's the thing, right? It's both Dead Rising 4 making a commentary on that kind of shit, but at the same time feeling like the franchise just had no ideas other than bring it back to Frank West and a Willamette Mall.
Even though it wasn't Frank West. Because that's the thing, it's like the series is obviously based on and inspired by the Of the Dead series.
No, it's not, Carl. It's definitely not. They definitely
I thought you knew something I didn't then.
No, it's
like the point where the layout of the mall is directly modelled after the first Dawn of the Dead movie.
Because they got taken to court right after that first game.
Oh, and they argued that it wasn't. They argued that it's a very generic idea, even though they modelled the mall after the one in Dawn of the Dead.
And then they had to eventually have a little disclaimer on the box after the lawsuit of inspired by George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead or whatever the little disclaimer had to be. But yeah,
the thing is as well, you think George Romero, from what I'm, the guy's dead now, but from what I, could gather from interviews, he was seemingly okay with parody and lampshading and takes on his work. So it must have been the studio because, for example, with Shaun of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, he was very happy and gave that his blessing to the point where Edgar Wright said he's the only quote on the box was from him. We didn't he's the only person.
You don't need another one, right?
And it feels like maybe. Did you ever hear how Hideo Kojima got away with just ripping off Escape from New York?
Did he just do it and ask for forgiveness later?
No, what he did is he just called up John Carpenter before he did it.
Oh, right.
And when they released the first Metal Gear game, and they're calling the character Snake Plissken, which is the name of the character from Escape from New York, and they literally took key art from the film and just painted over it with their characters. The studio tried to sue Konami, and when John Carpenter heard about it, he stepped in and went, "No, it's fine." Mm-hmm. Like, what? But it's an open and shut case. He went, "Yeah, but Hideo Kojima called me, and he seemed like a nice guy. Don't sue him."
Mm.
So I feel it could be one of those scenarios where just maybe if they'd gotten in contact with George Romero and just asked him, he'd have said yes. But because they didn't, and maybe it was the studio wanting to make some money, whereas George Romero's like, "Well, just make some zombie shit. As long as it keeps to my themes of consumerism and criticizing of capitalism, it's fine."
And I did just look up. It was Dead Rising that won the copyright case against George A. Romero there. So yeah, they were managed. They did manage to convince the judge, hey, look, it's a generic enough idea of zombies in a mall. Beyond that, there weren't too many direct references to Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, George Romero, when he was alive, had a very, very good argument for the fact that he invented zombies. Because when people think of zombies, it's I saw a great discussion of it. It's one of the few truly modern monsters. Because vampires and werewolves and swamp man, that all goes back to folklore.
Mm-hmm.
Zombies, we had voodoo zombies from Haitian culture and stuff like that, but that's not what people think of when you say a zombie. The zombie, as we understand it today, was invented by George Romero.
Yeah, the idea of someone being undead is not new, but the actual image of what we think of as a traditional zombie is basically what George A. Romero made.
Yes, in his movie Dawn of the Dead. And every trope that you'd associate with zombies, shoot them in the head, them like rising back from the grave due to an unnamed or in some cases just not mentioned. Like they never tell you how it starts in a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
In like a lot of zombie media, like even The Walking Dead, they don't tell you where the outbreak came from because ultimately it's not important.
Oh
The
yeah, it's
zombies
just
are a metaphor.
the plot twist for season 1 was just everyone is infected. It doesn't tell you how everyone is infected.
Because it doesn't matter, because zombie media is generally not about the zombies, it's about how people respond to the zombies, which is what George Romero has always said. He always finds it fascinating that people get hung up on the zombie part. It's like, but the films aren't about the zombies. It's about the people. It's about what do people do when all of the rules of society no longer apply.
However, I will say, I don't know what happens in the later seasons of The Walking Dead, but when the new spin-off with Rick and Michonne is like, the zombies are back, it's like, did it literally get to a point in The Walking Dead where the zombies stopped being in it?
Well, I think with the zombies in The Walking Dead is they ran into an issue very quickly because they established in that universe that the zombies are rotting in real time, realistically. And one of the things you'll notice is it's as the series progresses, the zombies get more and more decayed, which you can partly put towards the fact, like, just the people doing the makeup got more skilled, they got more of a budget, and then it starts to go down a little bit because, like, the actors' salary starts ballooning. But yeah, they ran into a problem of they had to keep condensing the period of time because we can't jump forward a year because if the zombies are decaying in real time, or at least real time slowed down a bit by zombie bullshit. They'll just be skeletons because they try to have somewhat realistic zombies in that universe of there needs to be at least something holding together the corpse for it to move.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, they're still using their muscles in their body to move. It's not magic. And yeah, it's that weird thing of, I get that the interesting quote-unquote part of a zombie story is the people, but at some point you can't just get rid of the zombies entirely.
Well, that's what they do in the original Dawn of the Dead. Like, by the halfway point of the film, they've solved the problem. They've locked themselves in the mall, and the zombies can't get in.
Yeah, but there's still the existential dread of what if the zombies get back in?
If they get back, that is always a persistent threat in the background. But the majority of the plot after that point, until the zombies just escape, they get in, is them dealing with the fact that humanity no longer exists. The fuck do we do? And then they do have this great montage of them just wandering around the mall doing whatever the fuck they want. And even after that, they get bored of like, okay, we've swandered around the mall being dickheads. Now what? Do we rebuild society? Is society worth rebuilding? And that's what they're the conversation that George Romero wanted to use the zombies to facilitate.
That is the important and interesting part because, like, just there's more zombies around us becomes very boring very quickly. But like, when it's the case of we've got to figure out how to keep living and keep moving on, when zero zombies at all, like, that concept starts becoming a bit more boring because there's no reason to be in this like complete ruleless landscape. You can at that point start rebuilding. And
that's one of the things they keep dealing with in The Walking Dead, isn't it? And it's interesting to me because you'll see it throughout the series of like Rick, where he still wears his cop outfit for a very, very long time because he's still holding on to the vestiges of the previous world. Of like, there's still law and order, but by the end of it, he just doesn't wear it anymore.
You reckon he's still wearing it when he drives over the innocent cop?
Yeah.
Or like the innocent man that's running away, but he drives over him in a cop car, right?
Yeah, it's like I still single that out as the moment where I stopped giving a fuck about Walking Dead, and it's just a guy tied up running away from Rick who just lazily hits him with his car and breaks his spine, then just walks out and shoots him. And I realised that is that moment. Everyone in this show's an arsehole. I don't care if any of them die, and just stop watching.
It's the same when another big example is like, man, Negan's such an asshole. Like, I can't believe he killed a couple of their people and let the rest of them go. It's like, do you mean the group that snuck into one of their bases and murdered like every single one of them ruthlessly in their sleep?
Unarmed, yeah. They killed unarmed people in their sleep using the justification of, if we don't kill them first, they'll kill us.
And then Negan manages to track them down and decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to kill a couple of you. And then
that's like the idea, right? Yeah,
lets the rest of them go, and like, realistically, in that scenario, Negan was completely justified to murder them all, and in fact was the better person.
It's a warped sense of justice, but is inarguably a better kind of justice than what Rick's group doles out, despite the fact Rick is a police officer, and that's maybe that's what the show is a commentary on. Of like, for the fact that, morals and all that good stuff just fall away when we no longer have to adhere to the systems that put them in place. But, moving on, the setting stems around the misconduct and subterfuge of the American government, whose primary stance in-game portrays them as the main antagonist of the series. The government is the bad guy, Lucas. Do you think there's any sort of messaging in this series? Can you wait for the remake to get released and see that thumbnail of Dead Rising gone woke because it criticizes the government?
Yeah. Because, like, it's all like a big conspiracy theory.
Journalist.
Yeah, like, literally, it's a massive conspiracy theory. The government are the bad guys, and Frank West is a journalist sneaking in to try and uncover the truth.
Yep. He's covered wars, And it says, like, given the extents they go to bury their involvement with the creation of the zombies, Ferrotrans, a multi-million-dollar pharmaceutical company, which creates and distributes Zombrex, a medicine that can, if taken daily, prevent an infected person from turning into a zombie. I wonder if there's any messaging there, Lucas, about the American healthcare system, because the primary plot of the thrust of the narrative of the second game is, my daughter has zombieism, I have to pay $50,000 a day to keep her alive. This is bullshit. There has to be a better system. I wonder if there's any commentary in there. I wonder.
And I don't know, I don't remember the stories of the game because it's been a while. I really went through like Dead Rising 1 and 2 at the time, but like they either implication or maybe outright statement that Zombrex is ready as soon as the zombies are there.
Yeah.
Like, as if they've been working on the Zombrex in collaboration with the government, and this has all, like, been planned out.
She was going to be a biological weapon, right? And the Zombrex was to protect their soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And they just see a chance to sell it as a cure. Again, I wonder if there's any sort of commentary on the American healthcare system. Wait, I've got to pay $50,000 for this life-saving medicine? Yeah, I wonder what that's like. I wonder what it's like having to, like, work 40,000 jobs like Chuck Green does to afford life-saving healthcare for your child.
It'll compete in like the zombie version of the Squid Games.
Yep. He also mentions that there are other groups in the game, such as the Citizens for Undead Rights and Equality, Cure, who fight for civil liberties of the zombies, and the ZDC, the Zombie Defense and Control, representing an anti-zombie police force. And that's something that comes up sometimes in zombie media. And it's like, oh, the zombies have rights. And here's the thing. If you're going by the logic established by Romero zombies, which almost every bit of zombie media follows with some variation, the zombies, they're dead. If there was a cure in The Walking Dead for zombieism, all the zombies are drop dead. They are no longer people.
Yeah. And
they're not people. If you could cure someone of zombieism, like if they die and become a zombie and you could cure them, they're drop dead again. They're not people, they're corpses. You can argue that there's a morality to beating a corpse to death with a sledgehammer. But it's different from killing someone. There's a difference between killing somebody and then beating their corpse with a shovel after they're already dead.
Well, again, we mentioned it earlier, Shaun of the Dead, right? Of like, oh, there's many like different times where they joke about like there's still that person inside, and it's like, no, they're dead.
Yeah, there might be some vestiges of something like his dad.
Yeah, the great joke with the stepdad, right? Of like, there is nothing left of that man inside of him, and just stops the music. It's like, well, for the most part,
yeah, that's something established in the Romero verse, where the Dawn of the Dead, like, why are all the zombies coming to the mall? And they theorize, though they never outright confirm, maybe the zombies can sense that there are people in here, or maybe there's just something. There's not much in there, but there's something in the back of their head that drives them to come here. This place where they gathered in life. And that's the commentary on American capitalism of literal, mindless, undead zombies who are driven only to consume, descending upon a mall. Again, Lucas, do you think there's a message here? Do you think George Romero was trying to say something with this movie?
I don't think that any piece of media ever has anything to say, Carl, and I just see it as it's just a movie about zombies. That's all it could ever be.
But yeah, that's like, so when you have those who are like, no, they're people, they're dead bodies. Like, you can argue that okay, if you want to kill them, it's like when people like cull animals. It's like, okay, if we don't cull, I don't know, wolves, they'll run rampant and kill all the deer. So it's necessary to cull a certain amount of wolves.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. It's when the people who do it are like getting rock hard and rubbing their chub over the idea they get to kill the animal.
Yeah, yeah.
So they don't see it as necessary. They enjoy doing it and use the fact it is necessary as a justification. It's like the zombie thing, right? Of when Rick's group is fighting for their survival, that's one thing. But when they encounter people who kill the zombies because they just want an excuse to kill people,
like they're just chaining them up or like,
yeah,
using them as basically like toys to play with.
yeah,
It's like that's when the kind of psychopaths come out, right?
So they're using the justification of the fact that this needed to be done to do something that they always wanted to do, which is another commentary, right? Of like the psychopaths, which are also in Dead Rising. If you have multiple psychopaths throughout the series, and you have a favorite one?
I mean, the one I always remember is, I mean, there's two that I always remember, I guess. The one with like the single-handed chainsaw that everyone goes and immediately kills.
I love his backstory. His backstory is just that, hey, he was a clown, then one day he comes into work and the zombie outbreaks happened and all the children are dead. And he can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
His mind breaks.
But
he's also the coolest villain as well, because he has the best song.
The other one that I remember, it just because I've constantly died to them in multiple playthroughs, is the person in the gun shop, right?
Oh yeah, well he's the smartest dude in the series.
Yeah.
He's the smartest dude in the series, and he's very understandable. Of like, you have those guys going like, hey, we need to work together, we need guns. And he's like, fuck off. These are mine.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I wonder if there's like any sort of criticism about like just selfishness there. Of if you notice, he gets killed by the guy he shoots.
Oh,
the
right,
guy he shoots at the start, who's asking for help, is the zombie that ends up killing him.
But yeah, the amount of times where like I've gone into that boss fight and he's like stood behind. He's stood behind a counter with like 30 shotguns, and I've got like a servo bot head. I'm just like, no, he just shotguns me down.
If anyone wants to replay Dead Rising in anticipation of the remake, if you go straight to the third part of the mall, which is where all the best weapons are, like that's where the knife shop is, where you get all the swords. It's where the grocery store is, where you get all the healing items, an infinite amount. And the gun shop, if you go there right away, you can arrive before Cletus does.
Okay.
You can get yourself like a couple of shotguns before he arrives.
Get some guns before the gun shop fight.
Yeah, there's also a few places where you can just find them in the ground. Like if you throw trash cans, you'll normally find handguns in there.
Yeah, because that's
a great little bit of world building. There
was a couple of times where I got like cocky and went in with one handgun, and then again just shotgun to the face.
Yeah, and my reading of that is, it's never confirmed in game, but I've always read that as when the outbreak happened, the police came into the mall, and all the people who had handguns just hurriedly stashed them in bins because they thought they were going to get raided. Jokes like people in America will carry a gun. I just thought, oh, someone's got an illegal handgun. There's a police, like the news has happened. That's how I always read that anyway.
I kind of read it as like, oh, well, there's like even guns in the trash, they're that disposable in America.
That's the thing. And that's the beauty of interpreting media. Because someone in chat is asking you, stop looking down to a surface level reading of media. It's like, well, it's difficult for me because my background is in media analysis. I have a literal degree in media and communications. This is like, I have a degree in this. Also, it's incredibly frustrating as someone who's a fan of media that generally the people who use the thing of I don't want to interpret my media, or I don't like people interpreting it this way. It's normally used to shut down discussions of it, and it's normally used to deny that very obvious symbolism or messaging is there. And normally the symbolism and messaging that they're denying are either, as like in the case of Dead Rising and Dawn of the Dead, criticisms of capitalism and its ilk, or just subtext that was very important to the creator, a la Fight Club, with the author being a gay man. And there's a lot of subtext in there from his experience as a gay man. And it feels dismissive and wrong to me to deny that it's there.
And like, that's the thing, right, is that we're not putting people down who like to sometimes enjoy media in that way. It's that
Yes.
like, we're having a podcast and we should probably discuss extra things, right? Is like it makes for a more interesting discussion in general. But B, also us doing that helps highlight to other people that might, have not seen those things of like, oh hey, yeah, maybe I could analyze this thing. And I'm a type of person who loves switching my brain off and playing
Oh,
a
why
game
say I
while
watch so much
listening
trash
to,
TV?
yeah, like I love not reading into media sometimes and just turning my brain off and enjoying things. But that, as hosts of a podcast trying to have a discussion about things, now is the time for us to bring these things up. And we're not shaming people for doing that. It's just, it's like important to highlight media, like
Literacy, yeah.
literacy and just the importance of it. And I think both of us always stand up for that. But yeah,
It's
we're not
also as
saying that
well.
there's a problem with it turning your brain off enjoying something that way.
No, that's why I watch so much trash TV. But my issue with it normally is that when people say that, it's normally to deny obvious symbolism. Like I said, like in the case of Fight Club, it is the people who deny or want to claim that there's no messaging there use that to interpret their.
No, I think that means we've lost Carl for a second. So I guess I don't know what he was gonna say. But yeah, we try not to shame folks, and like I do apologize if you feel that way. But that's not the intention is to not shame people, but it's just to remind people that media literacy is important. It's something that's important to both of us.
Yes, I also think as well we might have had a
You
slight
cut
bit
out
of
there
a
for a
hiccup
minute.
then. So I might have talked over you, you might have talked over me. So if you want to make a note of when that was, because I either mute myself or mute you.
Yeah, so I'll just, because the audio version, that'll be us just talking over one another.
Yes.
So go back to what you were saying. You cut out like halfway through your last sentence, I think.
No, I'd say like the reason why I harp so much on about it, besides the fact it's my literal area of expertise, is because it's frustrating that it's very often used to shut down discussions, and it's used as a cudgel by those who want to interpret the media their media in a way that, like I say, it's very often it's used as a cudgel by those who don't want to have their interpretation challenged. It's like the people who say, "Oh, I don't want to read too much into my media." That in of itself, or let's say, "Oh, I don't want to hear the discussion of the politics of the media that I'm consuming." That in of itself is a political stance.
Mm-hmm.
Like people say, "Oh, Metal Gear is not political." It's like, well, it is. It's like, "Oh, but I don't want to hear about it." So, well, that's a political stance. You not wanting to hear about it can infer a lot about who you are as a person. For example, someone who says, "I don't want to hear about the politics in my media," I can largely infer from that they are straight, white, middle class, and probably from a Western country. Because they have the luxury of just ignoring.
That's the thing, right? Is it's inherently white male privilege to be able to like generally say, I have the ability to like not give a shit about any
Engage
extra
with it, yeah.
political media. Yeah.
It's that thing, isn't it? It's being apolitical is a political stance. It's the same thing. But speaking of which, we can go on to the protagonist of the Dead Rising series here. So, protagonist, the main one is Mr. Frank West, voiced in almost every project by Terence J. Rotolo, who voices Frank in Dead Rising, Dead Rising 2, Dead Rising 2 Case Western Off the Record, Ultimate Mal vs. Capcom 3, Mal vs. Capcom Infinite.
And
just the fact they decided to put him into Mal vs. Capcom is so amazing. And I love his gimmick in that as well, where he levels up. He levels up and he just gets the chainsaw.
Yeah, because like you level up in the game, it's like got RPG mechanics like most modern games do, and just that's translated into Marvel vs. Capcom, where sometimes like you'll have certain special moves that when you go up to level 2 or level 3, they get better versions of the moves.
Yes. He's also in Tatsunoko versus Capcom as well, but it's not Frank West's English voice actor, Terence J. Rotolo. It is his Japanese voice actor.
And also,
this is in Japanese.
Point out that both the Dead Rising 4 and Dead Rising Remaster that's about to come out have a different voice actor for Frank.
Which is a shame, because like Frank's voice is half his personality. Like the awkward line reading of "I've covered wars," is so great because he absolutely hasn't covered wars. 'Cause the best bit about that scene is that he immediately drops the fucking gun.
Oh, right.
My favorite line is not that one. Is he says, "I've covered wars," but it's the line he says just before that where he's walking out and it's Jesse. Because people always say, "Why does Frank say he's covered wars when he clearly hasn't?" They always forget that the reason he says that is because Jesse, like the girl who works for the government who wants to know what's going on and find Brad, who's gone off to like figure out some shit that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to go out there on her own, and Frank's like about to hit her with a fire extinguisher. He takes the gun off her
Okay.
and tells her he's covered wars to convince her to go back to the room.
Right, yeah. Because, like,
Like,
it's been
he's
that
lying.
long since I've played Dead Rising without just skipping through the cutscenes.
Yeah, everyone always forgets. They think it's Frank bragging about how good he is at fighting. The point is that he's lying to another character because he doesn't want them to get hurt.
Yeah, yeah. But, like,
Yeah,
that's such a... I was going to say, it's such, like, a dry intro to that game, right? Of, like...
You skip through a lot of it, yeah, when you play
skip
for the
through a
second
lot, and just... I think it's a really good way to introduce the series the first time you play through it, of you're in the helicopter taking pictures of, like, the kind of escalation of destruction as you get closer to them all.
Yeah, it's also as well just the role of a photojournalist of like you'll be zooming your camera in on like people getting eaten by zombies. Like that opening bit is actually such a great tone setter for the game, where it's just you viewing through a camera. Like there's the guy who falls off the edge of the building, there's the guy who shoots himself, there's like the person on top of the car asking for help, and the
And,
helicopter
like,
pilot's like, "There's nothing we can do.
someone,
You've
like,
just got to watch him
drives
die."
into, like, a petrol station and blows it up or something as
Blows up,
well,
yeah.
right? Yeah. And you
And
just
you
see,
get
like,
points for taking photos.
you see things getting crazier and more people dying as you get closer to them all, but then you're taking photos of, like, these people dying, and you hear Frank going, like, "Oh, yeah, great shot."
Yeah, which I saw there's like a thing that they're changing for the new one of they're removing the erotica
Oh,
like
okay, yeah.
prompt, which the kind of people you imagine Lucas are annoyed about, and they're like, "Oh, it's censorship," and it's not. It's something that I've talked about a lot when it comes to video games, and it's probably because when they were remaking the game and they went back and played through and they noticed that that was in the game, they probably found it really. And what's the word I like to use, Lucas? Like in regards to like stuff like this, like with Miranda in Mass Effect 2. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is, and it just shows that in the, like, 18 years since the game came out, the sensibilities have changed.
Yeah. And it's that thing of like, I've seen it framed as, oh, it's too woke, or they're changing it because they're like scared. And I bet it's like more than anything, they're just embarrassed to put it in the game.
Yeah, more than likely, and just I can't wait to just see that thumbnail of, like, Dead Rising starring Frank Woke.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. It probably already exists, and it's like it's probably because they find it embarrassing. Do you know what we mentioned earlier? Craig Charles just dropping racial slurs in the commentary for Takeshi's Castle.
Mm-hmm.
I bet if he he had his say, if they re-release that, he'd probably edit that out. More than anything, because he's probably just really embarrassed it exists.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's not that... I don't think that they're afraid that, like, if they re-release the game as was, that they'd, get cancelled or whatever, and they're doing it because they're scared. I think they've probably looked at that and went, "Oh yeah, that didn't age well. Let's probably change that."
It's the same thing when you look back at like an old photo of yourself from high school, and your outfit looks terrible. It's like, would you wear that outfit again? No.
Well, it depends how long ago it was, right? Because
it
at a
might come
certain
back in
point,
style.
it'll like the fashion will be cyclical, Carl.
Which is sadly kind of relevant to culture because, racial slurs are back in fashion. Thanks,
I mean,
Elon.
I don't know if they are.
Well, they're trying to make a comeback.
Well, certain people are trying to make them come back, that's for sure.
Indeed, yes. But, we'll move swiftly on now. And the other protagonists include Chuck Green. Well, I've got no problem with Chuck Green as per Frank West, because I just love how much of a fucking loser dipshit he is.
Yeah, right. It's just, like, Frank West is kind of the lovable loser, whereas, like, Chuck Green is just a bit more, like, his character is okay, but it revolves almost entirely around just like, I need to look after my daughter. I need to look after my daughter.
Yeah.
Which,
I need to get my
good
daughter
dad,
a pet tiger. Yeah.
but bit of a boring protagonist because of that.
Yeah, and I love as well that Frank West he's like I say, such a loser because the official canon story of Frank West is he breaks the story of Willamette But then eventually, people stopped giving a shit, which again is a commentary on American sensationalism of literally the biggest story in human history. People stop talking about it, and they get to the point where they monetize zombies, which is how you have like the Chuck Green,
Well,
like pseudo Las Vegas zombie game shows.
that's
And
what I was
Frank
gonna
West
say.
becomes a fucking loser because he has no money, because he can't do talk show appearances anymore because no one gives a shit.
Like, it goes from being the biggest story ever to immediately being just taken over by capitalism and just,
Yep.
oh look, money for zombie game shows,
And he
yay!
eventually has to start appearing on said game shows to cash in on his waning cultural cachet. Again, like the messaging there of just celebrity-driven sensationalist media in America. That even the literal zombie holocaust eventually becomes a footnote when capitalism figures out how to monetize it.
And I will say that, I do think that Dead Rising 1 has an interesting story, but as time goes on with the franchise, just I care less and less about what is actually going on in the narrative.
Yeah, and the narrative, because there's so many games in the series as well. So there's not just like, so we can have that here. The problem is the narrative goes across all the games, and not all of the games are good, so it's
Yeah.
hard to follow. So we have Dead Rising, Dead Rising 2. So Dead Rising is just the game. But then Dead Rising 2, there's 2 downloadable expansion packs. They are Dead Rising 2 Case Zero, which is a prologue and demo of the main game, set a few years before Dead Rising, which is Chuck Green stranded in a small town. While the second, Case West, is the epilogue.
And that's the thing,
There's
I
also
found
another one where it's an alternate reality where it's Frank West in the game.
that's
That's not
off
canon.
the record, yeah.
That's off the record, yeah, which is a non-canon thing. But already, by the second game, we've got 2 pieces of story critical DLC that I'm guessing a lot of people didn't play.
I will say though, like it's a really interesting and probably would get a bit of a backlash now, but the idea of I think it was about £3-4 to buy a story like separate little demo kind of vibe, but it was a prologue that you didn't need to own Dead Rising 2 for. You paid a few quid, you got a couple of hours of story, and it basically acted like a demo for Dead Rising 2.
I
And
thought that was a good idea. I think it should do that for more things.
yeah, I thought it was a good idea, and I wonder what the kind of perception would be around that not being free nowadays. But I think the idea of a epilogue and a prologue that are 2 little snack-sized, just super small, like couple of hours pieces of content that stand alone from the main game, where you can just go and enjoy a bit of like separate story, separate like little towns and stuff like that. It was interesting.
I think an epilogue is a bit of a cop out because that's the ending, but they're just we're going to introduce you to, especially with this one, it's like we're going to introduce you to a new character. We're going to give you a new character and introduce to the new systems. And like you said, it's like 4 or 5 hours long, and for a lot of people, that was probably enough Dead Rising.
Yeah.
I think a game I think should do that. I think Assassin's Creed should do that. I think Assassin's Creed should just release like here's like one assassination mission with the new systems. Because for most people, that'll probably be enough Assassin's Creed, which is probably why they don't do it.
Exactly right. That's the reason why demos don't really tend to exist. Is because a lot of people will just replay a demo enough where they've had enough and don't want to buy the game.
Yep. We also have Dead Rising 3. So this is where it starts off the rails. This contains neither Chuck nor Frank, but it also has 5 downloadable content packs.
Oof.
4 of which are the untold stories, each one focusing on exploring the zombie outbreak, depicted in the main story through the point of view of a different survivor met during the main game. Then it has the 5th expansion, a non-canon, super ultra Dead Rising 3 arcade remix Hyper Edition EX Plus Alpha, which has like a load of bullshit from Capcom's history in there.
Yeah, that was the one thing where I was like, oh, maybe I will get Dead Rising 3, because that looks like just a fun, silly excuse, but it's like, going through buying Dead Rising 3, buying the DLC and stuff. I just never ended up playing it, but
yeah,
that was the closest they got of just, fuck it, we're not giving a shit, we're just going super, super, ultra, mega stupid mode on this one, including the name.
Yep. And then we had Dead Rising 4, which is the 4th game in the series, set 1 year after Dead Rising 3, and it features the return of Frank West. And this game left such a sour taste in my mouth. It's like, hey, Frank is back. And it's not the same voice actor. and it's not the same gameplay because they seemingly did not get the appeal of Dead Rising. The appeal of Dead Rising is at some point you're going to be stuck in a store full of random crap and resort to beating zombies to death with a lawnmower.
And
because that's all you have to hand.
That's why I think just people getting good at Dead Rising is like the most boring thing ever, because the whole fun of Dead Rising to me was like, oh shit, all I've got right now is 10 plates, an apple, and some gems, and I need to get through this crowd of zombies, and then all you see is like people going, go to this clown psychopath, kill him first, go get these three comic books that make the like chainsaws last fucking nearly forever, and then just min-max the fuck out of it.
Yeah, and my most hated feature in Dead Rising, which is annoying because it got introduced in the second game and became the primary feature, that was the selling point, was combo weapons, because combo weapons make the game far too easy. And the first combo weapon you get is inarguably one of the best weapons in the entire game. And it's just a sledgehammer duct tape to a fire axe, and it kills everything in one hit. And you no longer have those emergent gameplay moments of, okay, I've got 3 bottles of orange juice and a park bench, and I need to get through a crowd of zombies.
Yeah.
You don't have that. It's like, well, I've got 4 fire axes, duct tape to sledgehammers, and 14 drinks.
Yep.
But they doubled down in the 4th game. They doubled down in, they give Frank like an exosuit, and then he could do a super jump, so he gets zombie powers, and then he gets combo vehicles. It's like, but when I'm watching like Dawn of the Dead, and like the thing that you imagine yourself doing is having free reign of them all. I don't imagine myself making a fucking lightsaber.
Yeah, and I think they're great elements, like the extra unlockable weapons and costumes and stuff that you got in Dead Rising 1, where it's like, oh, if you absolutely like min-max the game and beat the ultra hard mode or however you unlock it, you get the Mega Man cannon to dick around with.
Or give us like, the machete or something like that, so you can go around just like cosplaying as Jason Voorhees. But the problem with the combo weapons is that they're so strong, everything else is used. There's never any reason to pick up, for example, just a random sign. But they've spent so much effort modeling everything in the game, giving the ability to pick up anything off store shelves. But after a certain point, why would you? I have the strongest weapon in the game, and they give it to you second one.
Yeah.
It's like, did you ever play any of the later Saints Row games where they give you the ability to fly, but you can still hijack cars?
So why would I ever touch a car ever again?
Yeah. Also, why would you bother modeling and spending effort creating roads and vehicles and cars when from 5 minutes into the game, I can fly? Even like having a Spider-Man game where they put in a system where you can ride a bike. Like, do you only put a little bit in a riding the bike? Imagine now if they put 50 different bikes in the game and stuff like that. It's like, why the fuck would I ever ride a bike? I'm Spider-Man!
It kind of like reminds me of Tears of the Kingdom. I was streaming that last night and talking about how the fact that, well, people immediately within like, the game coming out, within like a week, people have been like, hey, here's this design that's like super easy to make for a hover bike where you just fly over the entire world and don't interact with anything. Yeah. And then people would complain that the game was boring because the hover bike ruined it all. It's like, stop using the hover bike then.
Yep, it made the game too easy.
You made the game like play in a way where you're skipping over everything the game intended you to interact with.
And that was an unintended side effect.
That was unintended, yes.
Whereas with Dead Rising, it was combo weapons were not only the primary focus of the game, they give you them from second one. It's not even like a reward for doing something cool. It's just literally second one. You have the best weapon in the game.
Yeah, and that's the difference, right? It's like I'd say, giving it to you for completing the game 3 times over of like the Mega Man weapon, which is just the best thing in the game. So at that point, that should be a completionist reward like it is. Whereas giving you all this bullshit second one just makes everything so much easier.
It's like, in the game you kill Adam. It was a really difficult boss fight. A lot of people struggle with Adam, of like the clown. And you get, as a reward for killing him, one of the best weapons in the game, the mini chainsaw. That does feel like a reward. And you feel really powerful when you have that.
But then when you watch the speedruns of people min-maxing it, of just going and getting 8 of them, and having all the correct magazines for them and stuff to make them last forever. That's when it's just you've taken the fun out of it now.
Yeah, and weirdly, the other thing in Dead Rising actually does the most damage.
Uh,
Everyone thinks it's the mini chainsaw, and the mini chainsaw does do a lot of damage, but it's not the most damaging weapon in the game.
well, it's more that it's got a good mix, right? Of like it's fast,
It's really fast,
damaging, can last a long time with the magazine.
insane durability. If you combine it with the multiple books, you can do it. The single most damaging thing in the game is the steel shelves, and they only appear a couple times in the game. But for some reason, their damage numbers it's like the highest of anything in the game. And there's one psychopath fight where they have one in the room, and say if you pick the best way to beat the fight is pick this up, swing it twice, you win. Like the hardest boss fight in the game, it's right there, and you never think to pick it up. Pick this up, swing it twice, you win. Because it has a damage higher than the chainsaw.
The animation speed on it
so
is like it takes so long to swing it and hit them that in normal use it's practically like not worth picking up.
Though to be fair, I think if someone picked up a set of steel shelves and swung them at me at 1,000 miles an hour, it's like when you get like your throwing speed and your throwing distance up, and Frank West can throw a park bench like 400 yards. Or like when you pick up like the barbells in the gym with like there's probably like 20 kilos either side, and the bar like another 15. So there's at least like 50 straight kilos there, and you can just throw it at Mach 3 into a crowd of zombies and it just mows down an entire crowd.
That's the thing, like max level Frank West is an absolute monster. Like, bear in mind, he disembowels people with his hands, just straight up.
The best thing about Dead Rising 1 is when you get to level 50, Frank doesn't need weapons. Weapons slow him down. You can do it hand to hand.
He becomes the weapon.
But they acknowledge that in like later games where they talk about how Frank West is the single most consummate killer of zombies in history.
It's just very funny.
Pure raw strength.
Like, I'm not exaggerating. He unlocks a disembowel move and he just grabs them, just gets his hand and just shoves it straight in and disembowels people.
The thing is, as well, that wouldn't kill the zombies. See, like my headcanon is that he rips out the guts, yeah, but he's not actually aiming for the guts. He's grabbing the spine and ripping that out. It's just the guts fall out when he does it.
You can do it to the human characters, I think, as well, can't you?
Yeah, they just wall that shit off.
And that's the thing, it just does damage.
For gameplay reasons, but it's an instant kill to every zombie. And my headcanon is like, well, zombies only killed if you destroy the head. My headcanon is that Frank West is grabbing the spine and ripping it apart. And it just kills the zombie.
Oh dear.
It's great. What a great game, though. I'm looking forward to playing that remake.
I think that like the way that the franchise can get me back in is doing exactly what they've done, right? Of, hey, we're making a massive effort to remaster this game, but we're keeping the physics the same. We're solving a couple of quality of life problems, but ostensibly, for the most part, it's going to be the same game with like the timer still in, without the combo weapons, like just back to basics. Let's just enjoy what the like core fundamental of what made Dead Rising good was.
My hope will be, because I always look at Dead Rising, people always got annoyed that they couldn't beat Dead Rising on their first go. And I think it's because they missed a trick of not advertising, because I guess the genre wasn't as popular. It existed, but it wasn't as popular. Frame it as a roguelike. Dead Rising is a pseudo roguelike.
It kind of is, and when you explained it to me that way,
when you keep going through, it's like a roguelike is, you're not going to do a perfect run your first time unless you know what you're doing. So the idea is you go through multiple times, because I think a full game of Dead Rising is 6 hours. Which is like, that's quite long for a roguelike, and that's why I think
massively long, yeah.
If they'd have condensed it down a little bit, or made it clear that you could just restart the game with the levels and experience you already had. I think that would have helped massively. And I think in the new version, they're letting you skip to certain points, right? You don't have to like wait around for half an hour. You can, if you want to sit somewhere and say, okay, this mission starts at 4 o'clock, it's 3, you can just fast forward and get to it, right?
You are allowed to just fast forward time, yes.
Which I hope translates that a little better to audiences of, you're encouraged, if not outright just need to restart the game with a higher level Frank. with the knowledge of the layout of the mall. 'Cause that's the thing with the roguelike as well. You learn the layout of the mall, you learn where all the weapons are, you learn the correct path through, you get a stronger Frank who has more moves.
You learn how to min-max the different quests along the way.
Yep. You
Because the
learn like,
first
the
time you
correct
play
path in.
through Dead Rising, I genuinely thought it was impossible to save everyone
Nope, you
because
can.
the times overlapping with one another and running out of time to go save certain people that are across different sections of the mall.
And it can be done, yeah. Also, as
Can
well,
be.
you'll unlock new paths through the mall, like completing certain story missions. You'll unlock shortcuts through the mall that'll let you do that. And
I
it
wonder
can be
whether
done.
they
A perfect run can be done.
I wonder whether they keep the like bathroom teleport in
Oh, they've got it right.
there. I would presume they will.
Well, that's one of the short. You unlock that. You unlock that after beating Adam. You beat
Yeah.
Adam, and one of the guys who's there, because normally when you beat Adam, it's nighttime when the zombies are more dangerous. One of the survivors that you rescue tells you, "I used to work here. There's a shortcut." And the funny thing is, that Don't ask how I figured it out because he leads you into the women's toilets.
Oh god.
Which is another one of the things they might cut that out, where it's like, oh, the guy who works in the mall knows that there's a panel in the women's toilets that you can open.
Mm-hmm.
Just one of those things. It's a subtle bit of probably quite dated humor.
Yeah.
Same thing like Frank taking pictures of like up ladies' panties. We don't need that. It's already a critique of capitalism when you're taking pictures of people's heads being exploded, and he goes, "Great, fantastic."
Mm-hmm.
That's a pull. It's like when I land that shotgun blast directly on a survivor's skull as their wife gets eaten by a zombie, and Frank's like, "That's my Pulitzer right there." Like when I cave in a guy's head with a barbell thrown at his face at Mach 3 and quickly switch to the camera in 1 second and take the photos, it like caves in his skull.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank's like, "Fantastic." It's like, yes, this is it.
This is fantastic. And hopefully, people are thinking right now that this podcast is fantastic, Karl.
Hey, yeah.
And if they were thinking that, they could maybe give us a little like just to help us along.
That would be very helpful, yes. Just fantastic. What's your favorite Frank West quote? Is it fantastic?
I think I just love the way he's like, yes.
I think for me it's fantastic when you get a really nice photo. It's like fantastic. It's so dumb.
Like, oh dear. Yeah, I do just love all those little lines when he takes good pictures.
He loves it, right?
Mm-hmm. Because, like, again, I don't think Frank West is that great a character, but he's a bit of a lovable loser, right?
Yeah. I also love him in like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where he's level. No, he's level. And his anti-air is the funny face crusher, where he jumps up when he puts like the surfboard head on them.
Oh yeah,
and just bulldogs them into the floor. It's great.
I just love throwing zombies at people.
Oh, it's great.
That's just like one of his little specials is you'll just grab a zombie and just throw them across the screen at you.
But he even says, "Look out," as he throws it at him. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. The fact they translated that moveset so well into Marvel vs. Capcom is genius. Like, he has every...
That was like a Smash Bros. Level of translation into a moveset for a fighting game.
Phoenix Wright in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Especially so when you land like a Phoenix Wright level 3 on Frank West. It's like, it was him, officer. It was him. He committed getting it on Magneto. It's like Magneto committed the war crimes. We'll cover Phoenix Wright on another episode.
We will indeed. And just people take Marvel Capcom. I know it's a popular game, but fighting games are just not as popular as other genres.
Still played to this day. Like, make Capcom versus Capcom, you fucking cowards. So that's the thing people want. They want Capcom versus Capcom because then there's no rights issues with Marvel.
I mean, I see another Marvelverse.
Potentially.
We'll get like Cyclops back in there.
Yeah, just Capcom versus Capcom, man. Best thing about Cyclops is just when he does like his ultimate move, and it's the entire screen is the laser. Just optic blast.
Carl, I know I was about to say like you might be streaming Dead Rising, but
I would stream Dead Rising again. Dead Rising is such a fun game to play.
But I like
complete it in like 2 hours.
Yeah, I know that Dead Rising like the back of your hand, but there's another game that you like the back of your hand, isn't there, Carl?
And that is Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. I won't be playing it on stream this week because I'm away for the weekend. I'm going to visit a mutual friend of ours to watch Pokemon Worlds. So we're just going to hang out over the weekend, get a pizza in, drink some beer, and watch Pokemon because I'm an adult and I can do what the fuck I want. But next week, most likely on Friday, we'll be playing Metal Gear Rising Revengeance over on twitch.tv/Karl's Wood.
And you said as well, like, I need to ask on behalf of the audience for a potential update of, like, do you think you'll be playing Metal Gear Solid 3 on stream at any point?
Potentially, yeah. I played through it the other day. I didn't realise, though, if you play the game through and unlock everything, you can't play through on a harder mode. So I play through on very easy to unlock all the camo. So if I did play through the game on stream, it'd have to just be straight up a fresh run. Because very easy is so easy. It's no challenge.
So you only unlock those things for very easy mode?
For that difficulty, yeah. So what I'd probably have to do is play like a normal or hard run.
Yeah. Because that's such a backwards old way to do it, right?
I think it's because very easy unlocks the easy gun, which just straight up gives you an 80% camo rate in the entire game.
Yeah, but
which
I mean,
would make
obviously,
the game too easy.
I guess nowadays the thing would be right is that same with
it'd be DLC
RE2, the remake stuff is like, oh well, you know, you can go and like use the super easy weapons, but like you might not necessarily be able to unlock everything using like the super cheat weapons or something. I can't remember, but
all they need to do in Metal Gear Solid is just give you a bad ranking. Just say you
that's
can't
what I
unlock,
mean, right? Is just you're not able to get the perfect ranking if you use an easy gun.
Yeah, so to say you can't get the Foxhound rating if you do it like this. But either way, most likely I'll play it at some point. Just this week's been very busy. Like I'm streaming this with you today. Yesterday I was at the gym. Tomorrow I'm seeing a friend. Friday I'm out. And Monday we did Mass Effect Mondays, but I had no chance to do it then. So
we did indeed, and we will continue playing through Mass Effect 3 for Mass Effect Mondays over on my Twitch, Legend of Kanto, and I'm currently just messing around with different elements of Zelda games. Like I started doing a Tears of the Kingdom run last night, where we're not allowed to use any armor in the game, so we got to figure out how to like get around the game without any armor. And I did like struggle, but I did manage to get to the Ganon boss fight naked with 4 hearts just at the start of the game. Like, fuck it, let's see if we can make it there.
You're just doing the Frank West tech, right?
I am.
That's the thing Frank West can do. That's one of my funniest things in the game is immediately just strip Frank down to his underwear.
Yeah.
And like, a pair of sunglasses and his underwear, ready to go.
One of the greatest things about that is it's arguably an easy mode if you do it right. Because if you have enough food, that like one of the ways to kind of almost make the game easier is if you have 0 armor and 3 hearts.
So we're talking about
in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. Not even though in Dead Rising having a lot of food is also easy mode. Like pro tip, orange juice. Yeah. There's an infinite amount of orange juice in the opening plaza in Jill's Sandwiches. Reference to another Capcom game. Just go up there and mix orange juice with another orange juice in the blender. It gives you 8 bars of health. It is the ultimate. It's the best healing item in the entire game.
I never realized.
It's free and infinitely available.
Never realized there was a shop called Jill Sandwiches. That's great.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like that. Jill Sandwiches.
And there's an unlockable Leon Kennedy police outfit in the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster.
Of course, there's going to be all sorts. There's going to be like a Ryu headband. I don't doubt there'll be a shop in that game that has a bunch of standees from previous games.
I hope so. But,
there'll be like Krauser's knife and all that nonsense in there, and there'll be a zombie that looks like each character. I bet there'll be like a zombie Leon in there somewhere.
I wonder how much extra stuff like that they do put in, but yeah, I know that the police outfit is definitely one.
I know they also as well got the licensed music.
Oh, nice.
The licensed music was a big part of Dead Rising's experience, and a lot of people liked the really edgy 2000s nu metal they put in.
Yeah.
So they specifically went and got the licenses for all those like edgy nu metal songs to put them back in the game. So streaming that game is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, because I was thinking to myself when we were talking, it's like, man, I might stream this like Deluxe Remaster. Maybe I'll check if they've got like a streamer mode or something.
Yes.
But I like keep an eye out. You know, go follow me on Twitch. I may be streaming that depending on whether I can get away with it or not. But
there'll be a stream mode.
Hopefully there'll be a streamer mode for that.
Well, every boss fight has like an edgy nu metal licensed track to go along with it, and it's really, really funny.
But another thing we're figuring out is we mentioned like doing potential like Yu-Gi-Oh like just card show off stream, which we're trying to figure out for maybe next Tuesday. So we'll let people know again, like maybe just join the Discord and you'll get an announcement if we're doing that next
Yeah,
week. We just need to figure out like how we're going to
camera
co-stream
setup.
it and camera setups and things like that. It's a
And to
bit
clarify as well,
different.
we're not doing this to the quality of a professional, because we had a lot of people like message me on social media. I'm not sure if you got any, of like, hey, can you like just take a photo of every individual card and then go get it graded? It's like, more than anything, it's an excuse for me and Lucas to just go through our old Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and if there is something valuable in there that a fan notices, maybe we'll send it to you or figure out a way to sell it. It's more than anything, it's an excuse to talk about a game we like.
More than anything, yeah. But yeah. I also just do Pokemon stuff Thursdays, but you can find all the links and stuff in the description below, wherever you are listening to this podcast. But yeah, yes, I was about to say we should move on, but I have not actually got my wiki up at the moment, so just...
Okay, so do you want to just do that and vamp for a minute while I just go rinse out my bottle so it doesn't get all the mank at the bottom?
Oh my god.
Just get myself like
I
another
was
bottle
I
of
was going to
water.
ask you to vamp. No, Carl, run, go, Carl,
Okay.
go. But yes, yeah, just as I was mentioning earlier, I forgot to follow up with why Tears of the Kingdom is like easy mode in that sense of just in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, if you've got full health, you get hit by an enemy, can't die in one hit. So a lot of people play the game with 3 hearts, and some people, depending on how much of the mania they are, also don't use armor. But armor is useful because you get armor perks that are very handy. But yeah, if you've got 3 hearts and you can keep your 3 hearts at max at all times, then you can never die in one hit. Whereas if your maximum hearts is 30, but a boss hits you down to like 3 hearts and hits you again, then yeah, you then die instantly. And you've got to rely on a lot of like party meals and stuff to be able to insta-fill all your health again. And it's just actually a lot easier for some people to just be like, fuck it, if I've got a lot of apples, I can just constantly be at 3 hearts easy.
There we go.
So there is a specific hole that you jump down to get to the final boss, but then there's also like a bit of like a mini gauntlet maze that you have to run through with high level enemies, and then when you get to the like final section of the boss, it's not like Breath of the Wild where you can just take on every boss in one go. It is more of a narrative based game where you have to go do the 4 anomalies and restore the Master Sword and things like that before you do the Ganon fight. It's way more restrictive than it is in Breath of the Wild. Like, you can reach very, very close to the final fight, but there is a narrative blocker, whereas there wasn't in Breath of the Wild.
This is Tears of the Kingdom. So speedruns aren't as speedy.
I think they are because people just go out of bounds and walk past the door and get to the final boss fight anyway.
No, I hate that shit.
Yeah. So yeah,
hopefully
one of those.
We ready to rock and roll?
Well, you can vamp for 1 second while I just get my wiki up.
Okay. I'm excited to know what this wiki is.
Well, you're not vamping very much for me, are you?
Well, vamping just means talking, and I'm talking, right? Well, I'll tell you what, I had a friend earlier, they're like, oh, I'm going to the cinema tonight, but I don't really know what movies are out. Like, I know you follow this sort of thing. Is there any good movies out? I went, yeah, go watch Borderlands.
Yeah, I was about to say, did you tell them to watch
I just got a message from
Borderlands?
like, that fucking sucked. It's like, yes. So they're going to watch like a movie with their parents. And what do you recommend? Like, oh, watch Borderlands. It's got Kate Blanchett and it's getting great reviews. They just sent one back of like, there was no one in the cinema. It was terrible. I'm like, yes.
That's the thing as well. Every time I've heard people talk about it, it's like, oh, went to go see Borderlands and there was 3 other people in the entire viewing. Oh, that's rough.
I've already seen the update of the meme of like Goku and Vegeta of like, let's go fight somewhere empty, and it's the Borderlands screening.
Oh man. And also Rowan in chat, just Carl already owns Tears of the Kingdom. He hasn't finished it, but it's not like he'd be doing a blind playthrough like we did when we played Breath of the Wild for my channel. Like, yeah. Carl owns and has played some of Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be a possibility.
I generally don't do playthroughs blind, at least not recording them, because I don't want to experience what you did, Lucas, when you were playing Tears of the Kingdom and had someone in your chat for 95% of it, spoiling what was coming up. But
Just
spoiling it in that asshole way of,
insinuating, like,
yeah,
yeah.
that asshole way people spoil stuff off. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm really excited to see your reaction to what's coming up next. Like, that's a spoiler!
And it wasn't just one person, like, to clarify, it was many different people. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the experience of playing games like that at launch, which,
I couldn't deal with it.
yeah. But yes, I have got my wiki up now, Carl.
Yes, so what are we talking about?
I don't know how to, like, I don't know much about this. This is just something I heard about and thought that can discover this together
Okay.
on Wiki Weekends. This is the joy of this, like, premise and this podcast. Sometimes it's like, that just sounds weird, and I want to find out about it.
Okay.
And we talked about, like, weird things with, like, critiques of America and, like, malls and stuff.
Okay.
This is something in America which is called Wanadu City. And I don't know if you know about this, Carl.
Wanna-Do City.
Wanadu City, which was
I am
in
not familiar.
it was an indoor role-playing amusement center at Sawgrass Mills in Sunrise, Florida. And it is essentially it says here, build as a city where kids can do what they want to do. And it is a child-sized representation of a metropolis where children could participate in different careers and other lifelike activities. And essentially, it sounds like an amusement park that no longer exists, but you, like,
Of
would
course, it
take
no
your
longer
kids
exists.
there and they role play for the day as a job, and they all come together as, like, a child city.
See, there's so many things from history like this.
Mm-hmm.
Of you hear about these like failed theme parks, and usually it's because it sounds like a good idea, but it sounds annoying as fuck.
Yes,
So,
right.
have you ever seen like the South Park episode where they go to like the Old West mining town, and everyone talks like they're in the Old West,
God.
and they're not allowed to break character, and everyone in the show's like, God, it's so like, it's so annoying that they refuse to. It sounds like one of those things.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like, it is that weird thing people already in chat like mentioning, like, yeah, it's kids doing adult jobs of, like, yeah,
I can
we
see the
are
appeal.
essentially, like, prepping children for the boring, shitty adult life that they will continue to live.
Well, here's the thing: I can see the appeal.
It
Of
sounds like
don't-
something I'd have loved as a kid, right? Because, like,
yeah,
how many kids are like, oh, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? That's, like, the first thing you ask a
I
fucking
want to be
kid
a
when you
fireman.
talk to them. Yeah.
Like, I want to be a fireman or a police officer or something like that. Or do you like when you go to those like have you been to one of those like great parks where they have like the sand pit and they have like the fake bulldozer in there that you can like maneuver and manipulate
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
with like you can scoop up the sand. I can imagine something that'd been kind of cool,
Yeah,
but I bet
man.
it wasn't that.
Like, to be fair, when I googled a few pictures of it, it looked like
No, it
scale-wise
was.
relatively impressive.
So it's the Wanna-Do theme park.
Yes.
Okay, I'll have a look at some pictures as you go through the wiki.
And it's not like a massive wiki page or anything. I figured, like, this would be a good counter of, like, I knew we'd talk about Dead Rising for quite a long time. It was, like, just, like, going to be a shorter, sillier one.
I can see a Dead Rising like mission ending up here. That's
That's the
what Dead
thing,
Rising
right?
was, right? It's a miniaturized city.
It's a miniaturized city, and I can kind of see, like, oh yeah, I could see a Dead Rising taking place, or, like, one of the sections of the Dead Rising map being, like, this little miniature city.
The one that's getting me is one of the pictures used to advertise it is a building on fire.
Yeah,
And
because
kids
you can be a firefighter. It's like, oh god, that's not good promotion.
This feels like one of those things where they probably. Oh my god! Now I'm looking at one. Wait, why is the pictures of? Why are they looking like kids looking after babies, being doctors, doing surgery? No. See, on one hand, I get it,
Mm-hmm.
but it reminds me a little bit, and I understand that sometimes some kids like this, but it really, do you know what? It just eats away at your soul a little bit when you
Yeah.
see those play sets that are like the McDonald's worker play set for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
have you seen the new one where it's like the be a streamer set where it comes like the fake plastic camera so the kid could pretend to be a streamer? And the thing, and it burns away at your soul, doesn't it? Of like,
Yeah.
you should be pretending to be a spaceman
Mm-hmm.
or playing like some make believe using your imagination. you've got the infinite potential and wonderment of a child. The best you should be hoping for, you shouldn't be in your wildest fantasies being a dipshit who screams racial slurs at video games. That should not be what your end goal is. Every streamer is a failed gifted kid at best.
At best, yeah. Oh, yeah, it does say here the careers in which the citizens could
That
participate.
alone pisses me off.
Yes. Yeah.
Shut up.
They were included but not limited to firefighter, police officer. Great, cool, yeah. Exactly what we said. Like, lawyer, physician, TV reporter.
Because, like, I understand fireman, you see the big truck, like the wee woo, like going through the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Police officer, the uniform. And
Yeah.
a lot of media portrays the police or figures of authority in a positive light.
Especially back when this was going on, like it ran 2004 to 2011, where like ACAB wasn't such a priority.
Like doctor, like, you know, just generally held up as a position of authority and respect. I can see why a kid wants to be a doctor or a nurse, because there's also like some kids like looking after other kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like kids like the idea of like looking after people. Similar, like presumably vet's one of the things, but lawyer?
Yeah, lawyer's a weird one, right? Of like, again, that sounds boring.
Job.
But when it's like,
I can't think of what would inspire a kid to want to be a lawyer. I can imagine a kid of like the scenario that comes and be like, I want to be a police officer.
Yeah.
I can't think of like saying I want to work in a patent office.
Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, maybe they just watched, I don't know, Law and Order a lot as a kid.
Watching like Perry Mason or something like that.
It's like, just a 10-year-old obsessed with Law and Order.
Well, I can see like detective.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if a kid doesn't know like what a lawyer does, like if you explain to a kid what a lawyer fucking does, they understand the law. They don't understand that aspect. They just know the police enforce the law.
Exactly right. And it, you know, some other ones here are like singer and actor, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but
famous footballer, celebrity.
Then it also says model, and I'm like, oh,
that's a bit weird.
And again, we're coming from a UK perspective, where I guess in America it's a bit more normalized with like pageantry and stuff like that.
Speaking of hitting, like making your souls wither away, God, they're creepy as fuck.
Like beauty pageants in America, like what are you all doing? What are you all doing over there? Like it's creepy as shit, man.
It's one of those things as well where you can tell it's the parents who want to do it more.
Yeah, it's nearly always like
the parents. That's why it's the joke, like pageant moms.
Yeah, like just what was there was like a TV show that was following like a family, right? That we got pretty big.
Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah, that's the one, right? Of like going around all those
moms.
Pageants and dancers and shit, and it's like
it's creepy as fuck.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't.
I can see the appeal. It's like a talent show, like a kid talent show, sure, or a kid like, you know, a piano recital or a dance recital, like doing ballet or tap dancing or something like that. But yeah, specifically of like dress your kid up like a little porcelain doll, and like the fact that teen and kid pageants have like bathing suit sections. Like, the fuck are you doing?
I get the whole like beauty pageant scene when it's adult women. Like, sure, you go ahead. You're all archaic, your own adults and like whatever. It's rooted in a bunch of problems, but at least it's like you're all fucking adults who can make your own decisions at that point. Being forced into it at the age of like 5 years old and getting put in a fucking bathing suit in front of people like that is messed up. Absolutely, but
and the kind of thing that normalizes that is having the children be like, "Hey, I want to be a model."
Yeah,
it's like, see, celebrity.
Yeah,
I want to be famous.
Again, like, totally get it when it's like, oh, I want to be a singer or an actor or
yeah, like, you know, I want to be like LeBron James or something like that.
That's just I don't want to know what going and being a model for the day was like for like these 2 to 14-year-old children. But it does say here that going back to like the concept of it says Luis Javier Larasciotti, I don't know how to say that name, but created the concept 5 years prior in 1996 when he opened a similar park in Mexico City named La Ciudad de los Niños. which was now known as Kidzania. And Louis sold his shares and left Kidzania to open Wanadu City in Florida. He then left Wanadu City to start a new business called Can Do, which now focuses on licensing a smaller hybrid model of Wanadu City. And it's like, this guy is just obsessed with this one idea, and he keeps setting it up and leaving to set up another one.
Just piecing out and then taking the format and refining it down.
And it's like, again, as a kid, if you told me like, hey, there's this city where you all go and like play jobs for the day, and you all get to be like firefighters, police officers, like singers, actors, all this jazz, and you get to like go live out a little model city day. I was like, as a kid, that sounds real fun. And just then
it feels like they took it too seriously though, because I imagine if they just had like, it's a place where, for example, we have a bunch of heavy like kids who want to like play on like a cat or a steamroller or something like that. It just has a bunch of that shit in there. We've got fire engines and police cars and also on not medical equipment, but we've got
just come around with scalpels, like
no, I mean, like they've got like all the things that a kid would naturally be obsessed with about the world of work. Like some kids like get obsessed with like dump trucks or garbage trucks or anything like that. And it's like, or I said, oh, would you want to sit in a fire engine and press the horn, or a big truck like the juggernauts that go down the road? Let kids sit in one of those and like pull the horn.
That's the thing of like, I get the concept of just, again, some of these jobs aren't fun in real life, but as you say, some kids become obsessed with, oh cool, like I want to go around, be a garbage man, like get the big garbage truck, like, but make it like a little kid's truck that they can drive around and like go pretend to do that for like an hour and have some fun driving the truck around and stuff.
Because that was the point I was going to make of. I feel like the kids will get bored after about 20 minutes.
Right.
They don't want to put a full fucking shift in as a lawyer. They want, like, as a police officer, they want to wear the hat and blare the horn. That's the extent of what the kid wants to do.
Like, they want to drive the fire truck for 5 minutes and then likely get bored.
Or put their hat on and get a picture taking the hat, or work the hose.
But
they don't want to put the foot or slide down the pole.
Instead, Carl, they had money issued to them called wongas where they set up bank accounts.
And again, this feels like one of those things where they're expecting the kids to come back. As opposed to like most theme parks of, some people do go to theme parks all the time. Disneyland is a popular one. People go all the time. But for the most part, the 90% of your potential audience is going to go once a year, if that.
And this is like where, they know what they're doing because they're trying to just milk the system for money immediately. It's like, there was an entire money system here apparently where just, it like the idea of it was you get participation in different activities where you gain money and then spend those earnings in luxurious locations such as the Wonka factory, the Coca-Cola bottling plant, a public supermarket, the Wanadu City Fair, and a permanent circus. And I wonder whether they got the license for like Wonka and Coca-Cola there.
This feels like one of those things where it's two ideas. Of like I said, I reckon if I just went and I booked out a warehouse somewhere and I got in every giant vehicle I could find, I got a tank and a fire engine, a police car, and a dump truck and that stuff, you'd probably do that as a park. You don't need to slap a circus on there. Like, just make a circus.
Like, I get the idea of it, right? Because it is a bit different. It is making, like, an entire little city for the kids where it's like, go do your job, then you get rewarded for doing your job, you get paid, and then you can pick which activity you want to go do. Like, that is different from other theme parks, right?
It is, but surely, and it's like, I don't have kids, but I've heard stories from people with kids. And do you know what people with kids love doing? They love it when the kid makes all the decisions. That always leads to a fantastic day out with no arguments.
But, yeah. I don't know exactly how this worked. Like,
poorly.
Yeah, it doesn't sound...
Poorly's my bet.
Yeah, but, like, the idea, right, of, like, do you go to like the bar and let your kid just run amok in the city, or do you have to go do all these jobs with your kid?
Do when you go to a bar and they pour you like a shit pint.
Hmm.
Imagine a pint pulled by a 5-year-old. That's gonna be wank as anything,
I
right?
don't think they let the kids serve alcohol.
They should. They should let the kids do everything. I want like the security to be little kids. Like I want like when the drunk parents like stumbling around. I want like just a 4-year-old who's like, I want to be a security guard, just walks up and starts beating their ass with a nightstick.
Because that's the question, isn't it? Of like, is this one where all the kids are supervised at all times, or is this the type of place where it's just, look, we're shoving all the kids into one area so the adults can go away and forget, and then you just like walk into the kids' city and there's just like children running
Mayhem.
each over with fire trucks, and like the police have started beating down everyone with
I bet it's one of those things
batons.
where they told people it'd be supervised, but like almost everything, they probably just the people who were supervising were underpaid teenagers who weren't trained and didn't give a shit.
You know that picture you said earlier where it was like, oh no, there's like something on fire. Maybe it was actually
Yeah.
just on fire.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just complete like run amok with children just abusing
Yeah.
their power.
So do you like legally you have like when you do like a daycare or something like that, you have to have 5 kids to every one adult. You can never have more than that because an adult can't split their attention any more than that without it becoming unsafe for the kids.
Mm.
And that's like a trained adult with a degree in most cases.
Yeah.
But I'm sure like an 18-year-old with 2 days training can watch 30 kids.
And yeah, Kaylee in chat actually helpful says that yeah, there was a parents area where they could monitor the kids from above, and the kids would just run things flawlessly. Yes, just
They're not monitoring.
No, monitoring, right?
Every parent is 4 sangrias deep. Every single one. They're 4 sangrias deep, and they're done. They're looking at the people working behind the bar, just wishing, I wish I was 20 again.
I love the idea. Just this child city where just they're abusing the shit out of their power. Oh god.
Just Lord of Flies.
Yeah.
Which I found out recently. Like it was based on a real story, and the real version happened, and the kids were like didn't go crazy. They just made a somewhat functional society and just waited patiently for help.
And that's the thing, right? Is like we're exaggerating for effect because we're 2 people that don't want kids and like very outspoken about that fact. But obviously there are people who like do give a shit, and we're not saying that all parents are like that. But yeah, just a lot of kids are well behaved and a lot of parents love their kids. We are aware. We're just exaggerating for effect.
It's that thing we've all experienced. We've all been to a restaurant, or heavens forbid, a plane, or a theatre, where a kid starts acting up,
Mm-hmm.
and now times that by 30.
And it sounds like maybe more because it does say like the area was 140,000 square foot. So this is not like a tiny little baby miniature city.
You know, like the meme, the guy's like slapping top at cats. Like you can lose so many toddlers in this. It's gone. It's gone. So where's my toddler? It's like, do we go to like Lost and Found? Just where's my kid? I don't know.
There's just like 83-year-olds in a basket. Like, which one's yours?
Yeah, not like that scene from Simpsons where Maggie. It's like the children are playing up again. Add more balls.
Just drown them. Drown them in the play balls.
Do you ever hear about that story in America where there's like those daycare teachers got arrested because they were having baby fight club? And do you know what they got caught? I'm not making this up. They got caught because they were streaming that shit live on Snapchat.
Oh.
They were making the kids fight on Snapchat.
And that's the thing, right? Is like joking about the fact that the kids left on their own will run amok. Like,
it's the parents,
sometimes it's just the adults that can't be trusted. Fucking hell.
It's like that thing, isn't it? Of like
screaming baby fight clubs.
It's always every a child is a reflection of their parents, and like I think of those videos of like the people who put the buckets outside their house, and it's like take one on Halloween. And there's a video that goes viral every now and again. I think it's like or a variation of the same video. And it's never the kids. It's like the teenagers will.
Mhm.
But the little kids, like 5, 7 years old, will go up and take one piece.
Yeah.
It's the parents who walk up and empty the entire fucking bowl into their bag.
And, like, I try to make an effort for Halloween every year because I live in an area where there's, like, schools about and lots of kids about and stuff, and I
I
don't
can tell Lucas is not a real content creator. Because if you're a real content creator, you won't be able to live within 500 meters of it.
I, like, you
I
know,
mean, Dr. Disrespect could not live in your house, is what I'm saying.
couldn't. Not at all, but, like, I always make the effort because I have a lot of memories of, like, really being grateful when I was a kid for the people that made an effort on Halloween for us, whereas,
Yep.
you know, a lot of people would just do the whole thing of, like, pretend to not be in and stuff like that, so, you know, we try and put decorations out and stuff like that and have loads of sweets ready just in case. And every time, like, I always say to the kids, because most of them are, like, under 10, I'm
Yeah.
always like, you know what? Take a few, take as many as you want, and nearly every single time, these kids just go like that and take, like, one little piece, and they take, like, the smallest little one, like, sweet they'll grab. I'm like, "You can take more," and most of them just, like, are too shy to do it,
Yeah.
and it's like, as you say, it's normally, like, the teenagers or the adults that are the problem, it's not the little children, they're normally just a bit, like, shy and unwilling to abuse the system, like.
Yep. It's like those videos that I mentioned. There's like the one that went around like last year, I think it was. Like, it just shows like all the parent takes all the candy. The next kid who comes up sees that it's empty and puts some of his candy into the bowl.
Mhm. And, like, literally last year, we ended up making, like, bags instead because we were so pissed off that all the kids, like, we kept getting left with, like, bowls of sweets because, like,
Yeah.
the kids were taking one at a time. I was, like, telling them, like, "Please take more, we've got loads," and they just wouldn't. So,
Yeah.
like, last year, we started doing little goodie bags of, like, a few sweets in each one and just giving them out that way, but yeah, it's, like, just, yeah, generally speaking, little children are rarely the problem apart from when they're, like, you know, when they need something. Like, when they're
It's poor parenting, right? And I think what would be emblematic of poor parenting is like, fuck it, just let him run wild in his theme park.
yeah.
Where's your kid? I don't fucking know. I'm at the bar. Just slamming tequilas in this what's it called again? Wanna do theme
Yeah.
shot glass.
There's, a recent-ish season of It's Always Sunny. It might have been the most recent one, I can't remember, but there's one where they go to, like, it's not Chuck E. Cheese, legally distinct Chuck E. Cheese, you know, kind of thing.
Charlie Sharks.
And, they go in and are like, "Okay, great. Where's, like, you know, all of the really, like, you know, questionable characters of, like, the main mascots, like, encouraging everyone to, like, do whatever they want,
Yeah.
and, like, you know, the little sidekick was portrayed as, like, mentally disabled, and there was, like, a bar where all the parents would go get drunk, and they're like, "No, we've changed all that stuff, like, that was awful." Like,
Yep.
the kids are getting told to, like, behave, the parents aren't allowed to go to a bar anymore. It's like, it was just chaos incarnate.
Yeah. So who would want this? Who would want
And
what madman devised this
And
system?
obviously, because Always Sunny is they're all awful people, that's exactly what they wanted. Is like,
Yeah,
nah,
they
man, we
go, that's
came
the
here
one.
to get drunk and do whatever we want and cause chaos. It's like, right, okay.
It's like the episode where they go to the sitcom bar. And they go into the bar where it's like filmed like a real sitcom
Oh
or
yes,
regular
yeah.
sitcom. And
hmm
they're just really confused by the concept of like, hey, you're our new regular. And it's like, what the fuck's that guy's problem? Why are you talking to me like that?
And then, like they do the whole like thing where they ring a bell and everyone drinks, and it's like, yeah, and I'm like, the fuck is this? I don't like being told when to drink. I'll drink when I want to drink.
Or like the bar people are like, oh, I feel like there's a burgeoning romance there. I feel I want to come back next week and see what happens. Is that better or worse? Or is that better than, or it's different enough to like where they got the suburbs and that guy comes up and he's like, hey, neighbor. And Max, like, the fuck's that guy's problem? It's like, yeah, I was in attack mode. I was ready to take that guy out because they just can't deal with the concept of just neighbors.
Yeah. It's like, we've got too many hard edges. We're from the rough city, man. Need to soften down.
Because for a minute, I thought you were going to mention, said, oh, it was an Always Sunny episode. I thought you were going to mention the Frank episode. with
One.
the diddlers.
Oh god, yeah.
Is that the greatest opening in Always Sunny? Because I've only seen a few episodes. Like you've seen more of it than I have. Is there a better opening than that one?
I mean, that's got to be up there, but it's hard because there are so many good cold opens. Like,
Is that the best one?
it might be up there of just like, oh man, I've got such like, I'm in deep shit. I'm in such deep shit, man. Like, we fucked up. It's, what's happening? Oh, I've agreed to like host a beauty pageant, and they're like, hey, great, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're gonna be showing up soon in swimsuits. It's like, oh, great,
What's the problem?
fantastic. What's the problem, Frank? And then just like these little girls walk in bathing suits. Like, no.
Because that's where you get the legendary, like, we need to sing a song about we don't diddle kids. It's like, Frank, there's no way to make people think you diddle kids more than singing a song about you don't diddle kids. He goes, no, that's not how it works. It's how about, we don't diddle kids, not as long as they're older than my daughters. It's like, Frank, stop singing the song.
Oh, and then we got just the iconic thing of that actually just happening in real life at some point.
Actually happened. Someone sung a song. It's like, well, I got told I can't address this.
I can't talk about the problem.
Yeah, the person I'm paying thousands of dollars who told me to shut the fuck up. They don't realize that I'm a content creator and I'm therefore unable to shut the fuck up. So that's why Mr. Beast has not said all right. We talked about this on your stream the other day of just why is Mr. Beast not addressing the controversy? Because he's a billionaire and he's hired the most expensive law firm in the country, and they probably told him the same thing every content creator gets told when a controversy happens. But he's had the foresight to listen of shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Do not say anything. It's like the classic thing, isn't it? Of just you see any like movie, TV show, whatever, where someone's coming out of a courthouse or addressing a problem, and it's like no comment, no comment. Oh, what do you think about this? No comment. Like the moment you put your foot in it, you can't unput that foot.
Yep. You can't unshit in your bed.
But yeah, it does say that. Yeah, this is what I was talking about for like milking people out of their money, though, Carl.
Making the little kids work. Oh,
no. the kids were granted 150 wongas upon their arrival, and they were awarded 20 wongas for each activity. There were also, though, ATMs where guests could withdraw extra money and make a deposit at State Farm Bank, so the guests wouldn't have to carry their money around.
Let me guess, there was interest payments.
But then,
like, is this the 30% Apple payment for Patreon?
Yeah, and then children were also given ATM cards, so they were able to deposit and withdraw money more efficiently. And the ATM cards, the ATM cards were discontinued in 2006, which is 2 years into the run of this.
Because I have no issue with this concept because it is important to teach children about money.
Yeah,
like give children money to teach them the concepts of money, and like it's a common thing to give a child like a bank account so they can learn to appreciate the value of money. Do you know what I don't like? It's this. It's where they use this to enrich themselves. Like it's more an American thing, but you know, like the Girl Scouts are going to sell cookies. And
yeah.
if this Girl Scout sells 500 cookies, they might win a PlayStation. It's like, but those you sell 500 cookies, so you make thousands upon thousands of dollars for the company that sells the cookies, and you get a small percentage of it. No, fuck you.
That might be an interesting thing to look up at some point. Is just that whole like scout cookie
it's so predatory
thing of like, man, like when the only real exposure I've got to it is obviously exaggerated versions in TV shows and movies and stuff. Like I've not really spoken to anyone American who like have dealt with the real life equivalents, but when you just, I imagine it's similar where people just go into their work and just like, hey man, can you buy like 20 boxes of cookies off my daughter? She like really needs to like win the competition.
The prize. It's like, so how much do you want me to pay? $300. Okay, so how much is your daughter? Like, and to be fair, that does teach the kid about the real world of there's always some knobhead on the top creaming all the profit off. But when they try and frame it as, ooh, it helps fund activities for the kids. It's like, no, it doesn't. You're just enriching yourself and giving them like a small percentage.
Helps line your pockets, yeah. And
At least be honest about it.
Yeah, it's why I kind of prefer the idea of like the more like quaint British equivalent of not necessarily like selling cookies or anything, but just giving kids a bit of money is just the idea of like, hey, here's a little bit of pocket money. Like as a kid, my grandparents would give us all like a quid each, like £1 every week,
Yep.
and just, oh well, what are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna go and like use that money each week straight away and just go buy yourself like packet of crisps and a bottle of Coke or something, you know?
Well, that's the thing, yeah. In America, like kids will do chores and stuff to earn money, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
different thing. But I think the equivalent we'd have over here is like they have like I don't know, like sports day or whatever, like non-uniform day where you all pay £1
Mm-hmm.
to like not wear a uniform for a day or something like that.
But like,
None of
I'm
that's
more
for
just
charity.
talking about, you know, teaching the kids about
The
like
value of money,
money
yeah.
and, or, you know, when I got a little bit older, instead of like buying something every week, I might be like, oh, well, for a couple of months, I'll save up and I'll put that money towards like a pre-owned game and I can buy myself like a new game, or a new game to me anyway, like
Yeah.
pre-owned. But, you know, teaching the concept of just like, well, do you use all that money like the moment you get it, or just learn to save your money for later and like buy bigger, nicer things?
Is there out more gutting though? Like, have you experienced this as an adult, where you like give a kid like money, or they get like 20 quid for their birthday? I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy a helicopter, and like, oh, that won't even fucking pay for like my electricity
That
for the
that
week.
that doesn't even buy you a Freddo, mate. What a
Yeah,
fool!
you idiot.
No, I've not really got many kids like in my, you know, kind of close group of like friends and family and stuff. Not ones that can talk anyway. Couple of babies in the mix, but other than that, not really.
Yeah.
I try to keep my like time around children at the most minimum because I have a short temperament when it comes to children, and that is one of the many reasons why I don't want them and would never want responsibility of a child.
A very low threshold for bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But someone what? Speaking of which, like that's so.
Well, I
It's
was
also
gonna.
like teaching kids the wrong lesson, right? Of like, oh,
It
if your
is, yeah.
parents have got money, you don't need to work a job. But we know that.
Well, that is the right lesson, right?
It's the lesson,
Technically,
but you don't teach them it that early. Don't
no.
rob the children of their innocence that early.
But
Don't
I mean, I
let
was
them
just
think there's
gonna
some
like,
hope.
I was just gonna round out there because we've been going on a while now.
Yeah,
But like, I will say that I did see something that was great the other day
which
of
was
just a clip going around, like going viral of like the the evil queen from Sleeping Beauty, right, in Disney World,
okay.
just acting as that character, you know, giving that theme park experience of going around, and all the clip is it was like, I don't like that you called my granddad a peasant, and then the evil queen's like, shut up, I'll call you a peasant as well. And just this person getting really fucking annoyed that like this actor's just doing their job and being the
Yeah.
evil queen, and like, how dare you insult us? It's like you you asked for a theme park experience and you're getting a
Oh, is it like
fucking
an
theme
adult
park
doing this?
experience. Like it sounds like maybe they were like an older teenager or a young adult that was complaining.
Really?
Hmm.
In Disneyland?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, I don't like how you called my granddad a peasant. It's like clearly, I'd say like probably like a teenager or something.
Do you know what that is as well? Peasant behavior.
It is peasant behavior to complain. Like, you treat the queen with respect, and it's like you've you talking shit to the evil queen. What do you expect? She's the evil queen.
It's like when I saw like I went to Galaxy's Edge and I saw someone try and high five Chewbacca and he went too slow and it's like, oh, you're never recovering from that bastard. Imagine getting high five too slow by Chewbacca.
Oh dear. Like,
That only works. They are adorable when you get those videos of like kids dressed like Ren or something like that. Not Ren, Ray.
yeah.
And like Kylo Ren spots them, says, smaller than I expected, but definitely a Jedi.
I saw one
Those are really fun.
where it was like a little kid dressed up as Rey, and she had like the lightsaber. She got the lightsaber and like pressed the button to turn it on, and these two stormtroopers like stopped in the track and like ran away from her. I was like, oh, that's fucking adorable.
I bet that must be so much fun to work. Like I've heard behind the scenes at like Disney, it's a fucking nightmare. But I bet those moment to moment,
I've
like
seen people talk about
happenings,
it of like
I
those
bet they're so
moments
fun.
make the rest of the bullshit worth it, right? Like,
Well, it's what they say about it. It's like you, if you didn't, if you need to drink the Kool-Aid to work at Disneyland,
yeah,
because
like,
you might ruin someone's childhood. Literally, if you aren't on.
and my sister spent a summer working in Disney World, and said like, the working conditions were really rough sometimes, and like, you know, there were elements of it that she didn't enjoy, but she just said every time it just made it worth it when she would like see a kid go into Disneyland for like the first time and just see their eyes light up, and like she was only like I think she worked in like a shop or something. She wasn't one of the actors or anything, but yeah, she just said like every time you just saw like these kids experience Disney World for the very first time and just like all the joy that creates, it's just, like all the bullshit was worth it.
Yeah, it's like the new one they got Marvel and stuff, and also like the kids will see Iron Man or something. It was like, oh my god, that's Iron Man. It's like, is that a kid? That is Iron Man.
Yeah,
that's Iron Man. Don't ruin it for him. And then you get some people who ruin it for him. It's like, nah, it's like, don't be that guy.
it's weird, right? Of like,
it's like telling kids Santa's not real. It's like, who'd want to be that guy?
who
Who'd
would
want
want
to
to
ruin
lie?
someone's
Who would want to
childhood?
lie to children?
Yeah, like he's real.
Yeah, of course he is. How do you think all those presents get there on Christmas?
Exactly. Because that would piss me off. Like it's not something I've ever really experienced, but you hear stories about it, and it does annoy you by proxy, doesn't it? When you hear that, like those mentioned it earlier, like the person's like, "Oh, don't read too much into media." It's like, stop having fun.
I mean,
It's that energy, right? Of like, no, I don't feel that I can join in this conversation, so stop having it. So
but
I
like,
don't want to engage with the whimsy that this
but
child's
I also
experiencing, so
see
I'm going
the
to
other
stop it.
side of like, I don't want to critique people for going and enjoying like media in brain dead mode for fun as well. Like, I don't want to have a go at those people because again, like, you go find your own enjoyment in things, and
Just don't ruin it for everybody
yeah,
else.
just
It's like,
don't like that put a dampener on other people's day. Don't yuck other people's yum.
it's like, oh man, it must be. I can't imagine having. It's like the whole thing is if a kid hands you a fake phone, you answer that shit. It's like that just feels
So,
like such a universal
Carl, how do you
experience.
answer a fake phone?
Ah, it's hello.
Because
You
it's
just go
like that
hello,
now, isn't
hello,
it?
hello.
That's
It's not working.
that's what like younger generations do.
Oh man, my
You
ex,
say like
my ex,
answer a phone, it's like hello.
yeah, my
Yeah.
ex was a teacher, and she was telling me like the moment she realized like, oh, this next generation is fucked, is when she handed a child like they have like the big printed off worksheets that are laminated. So that way you can just use them over and over again.
Yeah, yeah.
They're handing the like laminate worksheet, like teaching them shapes, and they press at them. Obviously, it's not the kid's fault.
No, because the first things that they've interacted with in like a young life is probably touchscreen games and shit, right?
But you just start thinking like having it shoved, and it's like, oh, this is bad. That's bad.
But like at the same time, that's the kind of opposite where the whole handing technology to like a person an older generation and like what do you mean I have to touch the screen? Like, I don't understand that. And
Do you mean double click? Click twice? I did click twice, but no, you got to double click. You got to do it fast. I
yeah,
get it.
I have actually experienced that moment in real life of like, no, you didn't double click, like you clicked twice in succession.
I did it to my dad when he got an iPhone, and like I got his iPhone, and it's like he's got like 4,000 apps on his screen. Like fuck's sake, Dad. Do you know what put into folders? Like, what's a folder? So I put more into folders for him. He goes, where are all my apps? So you click it like that. And I also showed him how to close the apps. It's like because his phone was red hot when I held it. And I went, Dad, have you shut any of your apps? He went, what do you mean? I showed him that you could shut apps, and he had like 45 apps open. It's like,
Oh god. And that's always going to be the thing, right? Is that we might see that as a sign of like, oh, holy shit, the next generation's so fucked. But then, have you seen how fucked we are when, like, you see a kid playing like Fortnite on an iPad, and you're like, oh my god, the 360 no scoping people without buttons. Like, we've
Yeah.
got no hope. We can't compete with that.
I'm not one of those like boomers who's like don't give kids phones, but for me, it's more the thing of it's probably not healthy to have this. The whole thing about like attention spans are fucked. Is that 'cause I notice it with me, and
I noticed that my
adult.
attention span has gotten notably worse over the years. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's what makes me worry about it. Of like, I had like 15 years where I had to read books and stuff. So I know it's worse now, but then I think of how much worse it would be if it was like this
Well,
level
it's
of
just
immediacy.
it's everything in moderation, right? It's just always the thing of like too much of anything is unhealthy, and the idea that like maybe if these kids are only interacting with like touchscreen games, maybe you should give them a mix of like physical games as well to like, use the hands to play with things, and you never know what people are doing in their own homes, right? Like they might be doing that, and you never know.
And you know what? There's only one thing that you can't get enough of, and it's this podcast. But for now, you have to wait till next time.
You do, and just you have to make sure you remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell, and remember when we stream, and just already people's attention span, Carl, it's gone.
It is indeed. Well, how many comments do we get on our videos? Like, get to the fucking point of like, I clicked this 20-minute long video. Why are you not telling me the summation of the 11-word title right away? And it's like, I'm really sorry, anonymous person comment on videos, that you are so busy and so important that you can't just live in the moment.
And that's the
10
thing, right?
minutes.
Is like, I'm sure there's people who get annoyed that we have like long intros, and it's like, get to the wiki. It's like, I thought the point was just to listen to us having a conversation.
It was my understanding that YouTube and content creation in general are personality driven.
I mean, that's what I listen to so many podcasts for, is just the conversations. It's not necessarily like get to the topic at hand. It's just, hey, I like these personalities and I want to listen to them have a discussion.
Well, Wiki Weekends is essentially, I'm not sure if we ever talked about this when we first set like workshop the series years ago, but I see it as an extension of that old adage or saying people have about this person can read the phone book and make it interesting. And as like a person whose background is improvisational comedy, I did enjoy the challenge of reading through a very dry, interesting, but it's very dry bit of information, such as a Wikipedia page, and then somehow making that interesting with the tangents and conversations that it would lead to.
And that's
why I always thought the appeal of the series was, it's not necessarily the wikis we cut. It's why when we ask people to vote on which wiki won this week, it's not necessarily the wiki, it's what discussion did you find most interesting.
And of course, you can vote for that in our community Discord. And as we mentioned earlier, all of the links can be found in your description on whatever device and thing that you're using to listen to this podcast. Just go click all the follows. Go get involved. But thank you all for joining.
Yes.
We'll end it there and stop all the spiel.
Like, click like an old person as well. Do you know when you see old people swipe on the phone? It's like, they're in like I got that clip of Death Note in writing a book. It's like an old person on Facebook, right? Liking comments. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you all for joining in. Forgot to get OBS up, but bye, everyone.